Welcome back, dear listeners, to another journey into the shadows, where history and horror intertwine. Tonight, we travel to Colorado, a land of towering mountains, abandoned mines, and whispers carried on the icy wind. While the state is known for its breathtaking beauty, hidden beneath that majestic surface lies a darker truth. Ghost towns, frozen in time, resorts that echo with footsteps of the long dead, and forests where unseen eyes follow your every move. These are places where tragedy lingers, where restless spirits refuse to fade, and where even the bravest of souls leave with stories they can never explain. So, dim the lights, settle into your chair, and prepare yourself for the chilling tales of the 25 most haunted places in Colorado. These legends aren't just stories, they're warnings. For some who visited these places, never truly came back the same. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, is one of America's most famous haunted locations, a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural seem to blend seamlessly into the grand hallways and creaking floors. Built in 1909 by Freeland Oscar Stanley, the co-inventor of the Stanley steamer automobile, the hotel was intended as a luxurious mountain getaway for wealthy Eastern travelers. Its sweeping views of the Rockies, lavish architecture, and remote setting gave it an immediate allure. Yet, beneath its opulence, the Stanley Hotel holds a reputation darker and far more chilling than Stanley himself could have imagined. The hotel's supernatural notoriety skyrocketed after Stephen King's stay there in 1974, an experience that directly inspired The Shining. King checked into room 217 during the hotel's off-season, when he and his wife Tabitha were nearly the only guests. That night, King experienced a terrifying nightmare in which his young son was chased down the halls by a ghostly presence. Waking in a cold sweat, he stepped onto the balcony to smoke a cigarette and began to envision the tale of a haunted hotel that would trap a family within its walls. From that moment, the Stanley was no longer just a beautiful mountain retreat. It became immortalized as one of the most chilling hotels in America. But the hauntings of the Stanley began long before King's famous visit. Guests and staff have reported countless paranormal encounters over the decades. The Grand Music Room, for instance, holds one of the hotel's most famous spirits, Flora Stanley, the wife of Freeland. Flora was a skilled pianist, and to this day, guests report hearing the faint sound of music drifting from the piano late at night. When staff investigate, they find the instrument untouched, silent and still, as if the unseen hands had vanished the moment the living arrived. Other spirits are less refined. The hotel's hallways are said to echo with laughter, whispers, and unexplained footsteps. Guests lying in bed often hear children running and playing in the corridors, yet when they open their doors, the halls are empty. Cold drafts sweep across rooms without explanation, and shadows flicker at the edge of vision. The longer one spends in the hotel, the more difficult it becomes to dismiss these events as imagination. Then there is the infamous Room 217, the very room where Stephen King stayed. Its history is tragic. In 1911, a gas leak explosion injured a chambermaid named Elizabeth Wilson. Though she survived, many believe her spirit lingers in the room. Guests often report strange phenomena: luggage unpacked without explanation, lights switching on and off, and the sensation of someone lying beside them in bed. More disturbingly, many awaken in the dead of night to find a shadowy figure standing over them. When they turn on the lights, the apparition vanishes, leaving only a racing heartbeat and the certainty that someone or something was just there. Room 401 is another hotspot for activity. Once the living quarters of male employees, this part of the hotel is filled with tales of strange presences. Guests report feeling watched, with shadows moving across the walls. Some have claimed to hear voices whispering directly into their ears, though no one is there. Others describe being physically touched, hair tugged, blankets pulled, or icy fingers brushing their skin. The fourth floor in general is notorious for paranormal activity. Children are said to appear here, spectral figures that vanish upon approach. The laughter of unseen youngsters often echoes through the night, unsettling even the most skeptical guests. For those sensitive to such things, The energy on the fourth floor is overwhelming, thick, charged, and restless. The hotel's concert hall is yet another stage for supernatural encounters. Employees claim to have heard the laughter of unseen women and the sound of applause when the room is empty. One particular ghost is said to be that of a mischievous boy named Paul, a former worker at the hotel who reportedly died on the property. Paul is known for flickering the lights, moving objects, and playfully interacting with visitors. Some even claim to have been nudged or tapped on the shoulder, only to turn and find nothing there. Despite its hauntings, or perhaps because of them, the Stanley Hotel has become a pilgrimage site for ghost hunters, horror fans, and curious travelers alike. Paranormal investigators, including the team from Ghost Hunters, have captured unexplainable phenomena on camera and audio equipment. Photographs often reveal ghostly figures in windows or hallways where no one was present. Electronic voice phenomena, disembodied voices captured on recording devices, have been collected throughout the hotel, with eerie whispers and full sentences seemingly spoken by unseen residents. But perhaps what makes the Stanley so chilling is not only its history or its ghosts, but its atmosphere. The sprawling hallways, with their old-world decor and dim lighting, evoke a sense of timelessness, as though the past has never truly left. The mountains loom outside, isolating the hotel in a world of its own. At night, the silence is broken only by the creak of the building settling and the faint suggestion of music on the air. For guests lying awake in the dark, it feels as if the veil between the living and the dead has been pulled away, if only for a moment. The Stanley Hotel endures as both a luxury destination and a beacon of the paranormal. Its ghosts are woven into its identity, from Flora's elegant piano notes to the chilling presence in room 217. Each creak of the floorboards and flicker of the lights leaves visitors wondering, is it just the wind, or are the spirits of the Stanley still very much alive? Those who spend the night often leave with more questions than answers, carrying with them a story to tell, a story of a hotel where the shadows are never empty and the echoes of the past are never silent. Hotel Colorado in Glenwood Springs stands as one of the most iconic and unsettling landmarks in the Rocky Mountains. Built in 1893 by silver magnate Walter Devereux, the hotel was envisioned as a European-style resort that would rival the grandest establishments of the East Coast. Its towering architecture, lavish ballrooms, and luxurious guest rooms quickly earned it the nickname, the Little White House of the West. Presidents like Theodore Roosevelt and William Howard Taft stayed here, as did legendary figures such as Unsinkable Molly Brown and notorious outlaws of the Wild West. Yet, for all its grandeur and prestige, Hotel Colorado harbors a dark history that lingers in its walls to this day. Visitors who arrive expecting a lavish retreat often find themselves unsettled by whispers of the past and eerie encounters they cannot explain. During World War II, the U.S. Navy repurposed the hotel as a makeshift hospital. Its ornate ballrooms were filled with rows of beds. Its hallways echoed with the shuffle of stretchers, and its elegant rooms became quarters for injured soldiers. With so much suffering compressed into its walls, the energy of pain and loss left a permanent stain. Many visitors today believe that the spirits of those who died within the hotel have never left. Guests often report hearing agonizing screams or muffled cries in the dead of night, only to find the corridors empty. Some describe the distinct scent of antiseptic or faint echoes of medical carts being wheeled down the halls, even though no such equipment has existed in the building for decades. One of the most frequently reported apparitions is that of a little girl who wanders the hotel lobby. Described as wearing an old-fashioned dress and often carrying a small ball or doll, she is seen darting around corners or standing quietly near the fireplace, only to vanish when approached. Guests have felt small hands brush against theirs, or heard childish laughter that fades into silence. The identity of this little girl remains a mystery, though some speculate she may have been the child of a soldier who died during the war. Forever tied to the building by grief and longing, the guest rooms themselves hold their own share of unsettling phenomena. Visitors checking in for a night of rest have instead found themselves frozen in terror as shadowy figures linger at the foot of their beds. These dark forms are often described as tall and featureless, looming over guests before dissolving into the air. Many awaken suddenly to the sensation of being watched, only to discover the outlines of figures that vanish as soon as the light switch is flipped. Some guests refuse to spend a second night, their nerves shattered by these encounters. The third floor of the hotel, in particular, has developed a notorious reputation among paranormal enthusiasts. Housekeeping staff have reported that when they enter rooms to clean, lights flicker uncontrollably, faucets turn on by themselves, and doors slam shut with tremendous force. A few staff members have claimed to see a woman in a long Victorian dress walking the hallway before disappearing into a locked room. Others insist they have heard footsteps following them when they are entirely alone. Adding to the eerie atmosphere is the grand lobby, which has hosted countless guests over the years. Some have claimed to hear faint piano music drifting through the air, even when no one is near the piano. At times, chandeliers have been seen swaying without cause, and a strange, cold presence settles over the area as though unseen eyes are watching. Staff members closing the lobby late at night describe the unsettling sensation that someone is walking just behind them, their footsteps perfectly in sync. Not all the spirits tied to the Hotel Colorado seem sinister, however. A few reports suggest playful or mischievous presences. Guests have had personal belongings mysteriously moved or hidden, only to reappear in unusual places. Others recount being gently tugged at by invisible hands, almost as though some unseen spirit is seeking attention. Still, even these lighter encounters leave visitors unsettled, as they are forced to accept that they are not alone within the walls of this grand building. Paranormal investigators who have explored the hotel frequently record unexplained voices on audio devices, strange temperature drops, and orbs of light captured in photographs. Some investigators even claim to have communicated directly with the spirits, receiving responses through EVP recordings that suggest soldiers, children, and long-dead staff members are still present. For all its beauty, the Hotel Colorado is steeped in energies of joy, sorrow, and death that refuse to fade. Every hallway carries the weight of history. Every room whispers with the presence of someone long gone. It is a place where the living and the dead seem to coexist, where past tragedies replay themselves in echoes and shadows. Guests who walk through its ornate doors may come seeking comfort and elegance, but many leave with stories of encounters that cannot be explained, stories that keep the legend of the Little White House of the West alive in the realm of the haunted. Even now, more than a century after its construction, the hotel remains a magnet for both travelers and ghost hunters. Some come for its history, others for its beauty, and many for its reputation as one of Colorado's most haunted landmarks. But whether they arrive as skeptics or believers, few depart without wondering if the spirits of Hotel Colorado are still watching from the shadows, lingering among the living, and ensuring that the hotel's dark past is never forgotten. The Central City Masonic Cemetery in Colorado rests quietly among the hills, surrounded by pine trees and mountain winds that whisper through the gravestones. To the casual passerby, it may look like any other burial ground, solemn, weathered, and silent. Yet, those who know its history tell of a place where time and the living world blur, where figures long gone still linger among the dead, and where one apparition has made the cemetery infamous, the Lady in Black. The story begins in 1884 with the death of a young man named John Edward Cameron, who was laid to rest in the cemetery's hallowed grounds. Cameron, though not a figure of great renown, became forever linked to the mysterious woman who mourns him each year. Witnesses describe her as elegant and somber, cloaked in black from head to toe, her face hidden behind a veil. On the anniversary of Cameron's death, she appears without fail, gliding among the gravestones until she reaches his plot. There, she kneels to lay fresh flowers upon his grave, and just as quickly as she arrives, she vanishes, leaving behind no footprints, no sound, no trace of her visit except the blossoms resting on the earth. Her appearances have been documented for decades, with eyewitnesses ranging from curious locals to startled tourists. Some accounts tell of groups of people witnessing her arrival at the same time, their stories matching in uncanny detail. Despite repeated attempts to follow her or uncover her identity, no one has ever successfully tracked the Lady in Black beyond the cemetery gates. By the time anyone gathers the courage to approach her, she simply dissolves into the air, as if swallowed by the night. Speculation has swirled for generations about who she might be. Some believe she was a secret lover of Cameron's, hidden from public knowledge, her mourning eternal and bound to his grave. Others suggest she could be a relative, perhaps a sister or wife whose grief transformed into an everlasting ritual. A darker theory imagines her not as a woman at all, but as a spirit born of sorrow itself, an entity given form by the collective memory of loss in the cemetery. Whatever her true origin, the Lady in Black continues to haunt Central City, her silent vigil one of Colorado's most enduring ghost stories. Yet she is not the cemetery's only spectral inhabitant. Many visitors report strange lights weaving among the tombstones after nightfall. These phantom orbs glow faintly in the darkness, drifting as though carried by invisible hands. Some describe them as lanterns, perhaps the souls of long-dead miners still searching for their way home. Others claim the lights dart and flicker mischievously, vanishing when approached, only to reappear moments later at a distance. Paranormal investigators who have attempted to capture the phenomenon on film report their cameras failing or batteries draining without explanation, as if the very air in the cemetery resists being documented. Disembodied voices are another frequent occurrence. Tourists walking among the graves often hear whispers at their shoulders, or faint conversations in the distance when no one else is present. Sometimes, the voices are joined by the sound of footsteps, measured, deliberate, following behind. Yet, when the listener turns, they are alone among the stones. A few particularly chilling encounters involve the sensation of being tapped on the shoulder, only to find the path behind empty. The energy in the cemetery is heavy, charged with the grief and hardship of Colorado's mining past. Central City itself was once a bustling boomtown during the gold rush era, filled with fortune seekers and their families. But with prosperity came tragedy, accidents, illness, violence, and the harsh realities of frontier life. Many of those stories ended in the Masonic cemetery, their souls, some believe, never finding peace. The Lady in Black may be the most famous, but countless others are said to stir restlessly in the afterlife, their voices carried on the mountain winds. Visitors today often describe an overwhelming feeling upon entering the cemetery. Some report a deep sadness that clings to them, while others feel watched from the shadows. Even those skeptical of ghost stories admit the place has an atmosphere unlike any other, as though the air itself is charged with memory and sorrow. Paranormal groups who conduct investigations there speak of unusual electromagnetic readings, unexplained temperature drops, and sudden gusts of cold air moving across otherwise still nights. And always, the Lady in Black remains at the heart of the legend. Each year, those hoping to catch a glimpse gather quietly near Cameron's grave on the anniversary of his death. Sometimes she appears, her black-clad form drifting between the headstones, her bouquet in hand. Other years, she does not. But the flowers, without fail, are always found resting upon the grave the next morning. Whether placed by unseen hands or by the ghostly figure herself, they serve as a reminder of the enduring mystery. The Central City Masonic Cemetery is more than a burial ground. It is a crossroads of memory, grief, and the supernatural. Its stories have survived for well over a century, passed from one generation to the next, always centered on the same haunting question. Who is the Lady in Black, and why does she still return? Perhaps the truth will never be known, but her presence ensures that the cemetery will never be forgotten. For those who dare to wander among its graves, the cemetery offers an experience both chilling and profound. Whether it is the echo of phantom footsteps, the flicker of unexplained lights, or the silent vigil of a woman long lost to time, Central City's cemetery holds its secrets tightly, and as night falls across the hills, one cannot help but wonder if the next turn along its winding paths will reveal the figure of the lady in black, forever bound to her sorrowful duty. The Molly Brown House in Denver, Colorado, is more than just a museum. It is a place where history and the supernatural intertwine. Once the home of Margaret Molly Brown, the famed socialite and philanthropist who became immortalized as the unsinkable Molly Brown after surviving the Titanic disaster in 1912, this Victorian mansion carries with it an atmosphere that feels alive with echoes of the past. Built in the late 19th century, the home reflects the grandeur of the Gilded Age, with ornate woodwork, elaborate furnishings, and a sense of wealth that stood in sharp contrast to the hardships many others faced at the time. Today, it stands as a meticulously restored museum, drawing visitors eager to walk through the preserved rooms of history. Yet, for many, the most unforgettable part of visiting the Molly Brown House is not its grandeur, but the strange and unexplainable encounters they experience within its walls. From the moment guests step through its doors, they often describe a subtle but undeniable heaviness in the air. The grand staircase, with its polished banister and portraits gazing down, seems to follow visitors with unseen eyes. Some have reported that while admiring the historic pieces, they feel a sudden chill, as though someone brushed past them when no one was near. Others speak of faint whispers, carried on an invisible current, seeming to emerge from the very walls themselves. These sounds have been so distinct at times that staff members have paused tours to investigate, only to find empty rooms echoing back their own footsteps. Perhaps the most enduring reports are of the apparition of Molly Brown herself. Many claim to have seen her wandering the halls in period clothing, her presence unmistakable, her energy unmistakably strong. She is often described as appearing in elegant gowns, her hair styled as it was in her portraits, looking very much like she belonged to another time. Visitors have said she sometimes appears near the windows, gazing out toward the street below, almost as if she is still keeping watch over her beloved home. In some cases, she has been spotted descending the grand staircase, only to vanish when approached. But Molly is not the only presence said to linger here. Staff and guests alike tell stories of heavy footsteps echoing across the upstairs hallway when the museum is empty. The boots are described as purposeful, pacing back and forth as though someone is keeping guard or waiting impatiently. No source has ever been found, yet the sound continues to be heard by new witnesses each year. Some speculate that these footsteps could belong to Molly's husband, J.J. Brown, or perhaps to one of the many guests who frequented the house during its heyday. The mansion's atmosphere seems to come alive most vividly during quiet moments, when the laughter of tour groups has faded and the creaks of the house take center stage. Several staff members have reported feeling watched while performing closing duties late at night. They describe a sensation of unseen eyes following them through the hallways, pressing against their backs until they finally step outside into the safety of the night air. Even seasoned employees admit they avoid certain areas after dark, particularly the upper floors, where shadows are said to shift unnaturally across the walls. Visitors touring the home often bring cameras in hopes of capturing its beauty, but occasionally they capture something else entirely. Strange anomalies appear in photographs: misty shapes, streaks of light orbs hovering near the ceilings, and in some rare cases, what seems to be faint outlines of figures standing in the background. These images have been shared by countless guests who swear the figures were not present at the time. For skeptics, the photos can be dismissed as tricks of light or reflections. But for those who have felt the strange chill of a phantom presence in the house, the images are proof of what they already know. The Molly Brown house is still inhabited in ways beyond the physical. Some believe Molly herself has chosen to remain here, bound by her love for the home and her fierce spirit that refused to be forgotten. After all, Molly was not just a survivor of the Titanic, but also an outspoken advocate for workers' rights, women's suffrage, and humanitarian causes. Her larger-than-life personality may simply have been too powerful to fade into history. Perhaps she stays to watch over the museum that preserves her memory, ensuring that her story continues to be told. Others, however, wonder if the house's activity goes deeper than Molly's spirit, with decades of history etched into its walls. It is possible that the mansion has absorbed the energy of countless moments, both joyous and tragic. Paranormal investigators who have studied the home suggest that it acts as a kind of spiritual echo chamber, replaying fragments of the past like a needle stuck on a record. This could explain the footsteps, the voices, and the recurring apparitions. Whatever the cause, the Molly Brown house has earned its place among Denver's most haunted locations. Its mixture of history, tragedy, and enduring personality makes it a place where time feels layered, and where the past continues to brush against the present. Whether it is the strong-willed presence of Molly herself or the shadows of other souls connected to the house, one thing is certain: visitors leave with a story to tell, often one they cannot quite explain. Cripple Creek, nestled in the rugged mountains of Teller County, Colorado, is a town whose glittering gold rush past is shadowed by a lingering presence from history. Once a thriving mining hub, it is now as well known for its ghostly legends as it is for its preserved Victorian architecture and casinos. Visitors often come seeking a glimpse of history, but many leave with tales of the town's restless spirits. The Outlaws and Lawmen Jail Museum stands as one of Cripple Creek's most chilling sights. Built during the height of the gold rush, the jail once held notorious criminals and those accused of minor infractions alike. Today, its weathered cells remain, echoing with the imagined footsteps and anguished cries of former inmates. Visitors report a cold, heavy air in certain corners, and some swear they hear whispers or muffled shouts when the rooms are otherwise silent. Some claim to have felt a cold hand brush against their shoulder as they toured the museum, an invisible reminder of the lives once confined behind the iron bars. The museum's guides speak in hushed tones about certain areas being off-limits to visitors after dark, not because of structural concerns, but due to the unexplained phenomena that seem to intensify at night. Nearby, the Imperial Hotel carries its own haunted legacy. This historic hotel, once a grand gathering place for miners and travelers, is said to be inhabited by its former owners. Guests have reported hearing footsteps echoing down empty hallways, doors opening and closing without explanation, and the faint scent of cigar smoke lingering in rooms long after visitors have left. Some believe the spirits are tied to the hotel's heyday, when the building was a hub of social activity and business dealings. A few lucky or unlucky guests have even reported seeing shadowy figures peering from the corners of their rooms, disappearing the moment they attempt to confront them. Yet, it is the mines themselves that perhaps hold the darkest reputation. Many miners lost their lives in accidents, succumbing to cave-ins, explosions, and the treacherous conditions of deep underground tunnels. Locals and visitors alike claim that the spirits of these miners linger, moving unseen through the tunnels and mining shafts. Some say that faint lantern lights flicker in abandoned shafts at night, moving as though carried by ghostly workers still tending to their endless labor. Others have reported hearing the distant clang of pickaxes and the shuffling of boots in areas long abandoned, though no living soul remains to verify the sounds. The echoes seem to carry the grief and determination of those who died chasing fortune. Walking through Cripple Creek, one can sense the town's connection to its past. Even the streets seem to whisper stories of miners, gamblers, and outlaws, their legacies woven into the very fabric of the town. The combination of gold rush history and unexplained phenomena creates an atmosphere where the line between past and present blurs. Tourists, ghost hunters, and history enthusiasts are drawn here, hoping to witness the paranormal firsthand. And many leave with an eerie awareness that Cripple Creek is a place where the dead refuse to be forgotten. The town's haunted reputation is not confined to one or two locations. It permeates the entire area. From abandoned mines to historic buildings, the stories of loss, tragedy, and restless spirits are everywhere. Some visitors enter the town skeptical, only to find themselves unnerved by fleeting shadows, unexplained noises, and the weight of history pressing in from every corner. Others embrace the legends, seeing Cripple Creek as a living museum where the past continues to walk among the living. Even today, During the quiet of early morning or the stillness of night, the town holds a palpable energy. The ghostly cries from the jail, the spectral owners in the Imperial Hotel, and the miners' lingering presence underground form a tapestry of haunting that draws those who seek to feel the thrill of the supernatural. Cripple Creek is more than a historic gold town. It is a place where history and legend intertwine, where the echoes of lives long past remain stubbornly alive. In Cripple Creek, one does not need to enter a dark cellar or abandoned shaft to encounter the town's haunting. The atmosphere itself is heavy with memory, tragedy, and stories passed down through generations. Whether it is a whisper in an empty hall, a flickering light in an abandoned mine, or the inexplicable feeling of being watched, the town offers a chilling reminder that the ghosts of the gold rush era may never truly rest. Visitors leave with more than souvenirs. They carry with them the stories and sensations of a place where the living and the dead coexist in uneasy proximity, making Cripple Creek one of Colorado's most fascinating and haunted destinations. Gold Camp Road, winding through the rugged terrain near Colorado Springs, is known for its breathtaking mountain views and historic railroad remnants. Yet beneath its picturesque exterior lies a place steeped in eerie legend. The Gold Camp Road tunnels, originally constructed in the late 19th century to carry trains through the mountains, the tunnels now stand as silent monuments to a bygone era but not entirely abandoned by the past. Over the years, these tunnels have developed a reputation for strange occurrences, drawing curious visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike. There are 3 main tunnels along the route today, but local lore speaks of a 4th, long-elapsed tunnel. According to legend, this tunnel met a tragic end when it caved in unexpectedly, supposedly trapping and killing a group of children inside. Some versions of the story claim they were playing or exploring when the ceiling gave way, while others suggest a more sinister context, with children sneaking into the dark passageways against the warnings of local residents. Whatever the truth, the tale has endured for generations, and the memory of those lost young lives seems to linger in the area, their presence allegedly echoing through the mountain air. Visitors driving along Gold Camp Road often report a sense of unease as they approach the tunnels, particularly after dark. The entrance of each tunnel seems to swallow headlights whole, plunging travelers into a darkness that feels almost unnatural. Inside, the air can grow inexplicably cold, and some claim that shadows shift and twist along the tunnel walls, even when no wind or light should cause them to move. These experiences are heightened by the knowledge of the tunnel's grim history, creating a psychological tension that blends fear and fascination. Perhaps the most unsettling phenomenon reported involves the sound of children's laughter. Drivers and hikers alike have described hearing faint giggles and playful shouts echoing through the tunnels, sometimes coming from deep within the darkness where no one could possibly be present. The laughter varies from playful and innocent to chillingly hollow, carrying a sense of urgency or warning. Some who have stopped their cars to investigate swear they can feel tiny, unseen fingers brush against the vehicle or even tap lightly on the windows, a sensation both fleeting and unmistakable. Equally disturbing are the mysterious handprints that appear on cars after passing through the tunnels at night. Several travelers have claimed to find smudges or small prints on their windshields or side mirrors after emerging from the darkness. These marks are often wet to the touch, cold, and impossible to clean completely, vanishing only after hours or the next morning. Some attribute these prints to natural condensation or dirt, but the consistency of reports paired with the tales of children trapped decades ago decks an unnerving layer to the legend. Hikers who venture inside the tunnels on foot have also shared experiences of strange shadows and sudden chills, as if unseen presences are moving just beyond their vision. A few have reported seeing ghostly figures darting along the edges of the tunnel, always out of reach, leaving only the faint outline of a small hand or a fleeting silhouette before vanishing. These sightings, combined with the reports of voices and handprints, suggest that something lingers in the tunnels, tied either to the historical tragedy or the accumulated energy of fear over decades of ghost stories. Locals often advise caution, emphasizing that even those skeptical of the supernatural should treat the tunnels with respect. Beyond the haunted reputation, the structures themselves are old and potentially unstable. But the psychological effect of the stories amplifies the sense of danger. The combination of history, tragedy, and unexplained phenomena has made the Gold Camp Road tunnels a magnet for those seeking a brush with the paranormal. From ghost hunters with cameras and EMF detectors to curious travelers drawn by the legends, some paranormal investigators have attempted to capture evidence of the tunnel's haunting, recording audio of unexplained giggling, cold spots, and anomalous readings. Video footage occasionally shows fleeting shadows moving across the tunnel walls, disappearing when approached. While skeptics argue these occurrences are the result of acoustics, lighting, or imagination heightened by fear, many who have experienced them firsthand are convinced of something otherworldly. The tunnel's reputation has persisted not just because of the tragic stories of the past, but also because of the palpable tension they evoke. Even those who arrive with no expectation of a haunting often report an instinctive unease, an intangible feeling that the shadows are not entirely empty. The laughter, the handprints, the sudden chills they combine to create an experience that lingers long after one has driven out of the mountain roads and back into the safety of daylight. Gold Camp Road itself remains a scenic and historic route, offering glimpses of Colorado's natural beauty, but it is impossible to ignore the chilling presence of the tunnels. Travelers pass under the arching stone entrances and emerge changed, carrying with them the stories and sensations of the dark passages. For some, it is the thrill of encountering the unknown. For others, it is a somber reflection on lives lost long ago. In either case, the Gold Camp Road tunnels continue to hold a magnetic, eerie allure. The combination of history, legend, and unexplained phenomena ensures that the tunnels remain a prominent feature in Colorado's haunted lore. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, there is no denying the power of the stories that have grown around these tunnels, transforming them from simple remnants of a railroad into a place where the past refuses to stay buried. Even today, the giggles echo, the handprints appear, and travelers are left with the unmistakable feeling that the tunnels are watching and that some spirits, especially those of lost children, are not content to rest quietly in the dark. Cheeseman Park in Denver, Colorado, is a sprawling urban oasis, beloved for its manicured lawns, towering trees, and tranquil walking paths. On the surface, it appears serene, a perfect spot for picnics, jogging, or enjoying a sunny afternoon. Yet beneath its picturesque landscape lies a history far darker than most visitors realize. Long before the park became the vibrant green space it is today, it served as a city cemetery, known as Prospect Hill Cemetery, dating back to the mid-19th century. In the 1890s, plans were made to relocate the graves, but the process was far from complete. Many bodies were left behind, buried in unmarked plots beneath what is now the park. This unresolved history has left an imprint that some say lingers to this day. Visitors to Cheeseman Park often report a sense of unease, a heavy atmosphere that seems to press down on the chest as they wander the expansive lawns. For some, the feeling is subtle at first, a chill in the air, a sudden weight of sorrow, but for others, it is unmistakable. A visceral sensation that something unseen is present. Ghostly figures have been reported wandering the park, often glimpsed out of the corner of one's eye. Some appear as shadowy shapes, while others take more defined forms, resembling the long-forgotten souls who never truly left their resting place. These apparitions are said to drift across the open fields, disappearing when approached, leaving only the lingering sensation that someone or something is watching. The sounds of Cheeseman Park add to its eerie reputation. On quiet evenings, some visitors claim to hear disembodied voices drifting on the wind. Whispered conversations seem to echo from nowhere, just beyond the reach of the ears, vanishing as soon as one turns to locate the source. Footsteps, too, have been reported on paths where no one else is walking, or in areas where the ground is empty. These unexplained sounds suggest the presence of spirits lingering from the cemetery days, their energy woven into the very soil of the park. The history of Cheeseman Park contributes to its haunting. Originally a cemetery, it was home to thousands of burials, many of which were never properly documented or relocated. When the land was converted into a park, some remains were left behind, a fact that has fueled speculation and paranormal investigation ever since. Over the years, numerous reports of ghost sightings and eerie occurrences have emerged, from locals to paranormal enthusiasts, reinforcing the idea that the spirits of the dead may still be tied to the park. Paranormal investigators often cite the park's unique layout and history as ideal conditions for residual haunting. They suggest that the spirits may be echoing past events, their presence triggered by energy left behind in the earth or by the emotional weight of unfulfilled burial rites. Some even report photographic anomalous shadowy figures caught in snapshots of empty lawns or fleeting orbs of light hovering above the grass. While skeptics argue these may be tricks of light or imagination, the consistency of the experiences reported over decades points to something more than coincidence. Cheeseman Park also carries stories of encounters beyond fleeting sightings or sounds. Some claim to have seen full-bodied apparitions walking among the trees, dressed in 19th-century clothing, their faces solemn as though burdened by memories of life and death. Others describe an oppressive heaviness that follows them through the park, a sensation that compels them to leave quickly. These experiences have become part of Denver folklore, attracting those with an interest in the supernatural to explore the park after dark, despite the chilling tales. Even during daylight hours, the park can feel unusually quiet or strange to those attuned to its history. The open spaces, once bustling with funerals and mourners, now hold a different kind of presence. The ghosts of Cheeseman Park, if they exist, seem not to be malevolent, but rather residual, tied to the land and to the unfinished business of a past era. Their presence is a reminder of the lives once lived here, the stories lost to time, and the unfinished journey from death to rest. For anyone visiting Denver, Cheeseman Park offers more than just scenic beauty. It provides a window into the city's past, a chance to sense the echoes of history beneath the grass. The park's haunting is subtle yet unmistakable. The feeling of being watched, the whisper of voices on the breeze, and the shadows that flit just out of sight. It is a place where the living and the dead coexist, separated by decades, but connected through memory and lingering energy. Walking through Cheeseman Park, one can enjoy the beauty of its gardens, but it is impossible to ignore the whispers of its history. Beneath the serene surface lies a story of forgotten graves, restless spirits, and lingering energy, creating a unique blend of tranquility and terror. The park reminds visitors that sometimes, even in the heart of a bustling city, the past refuses to rest, and the spirits of those long gone continue to wander, unseen but undeniably present. The Black Monarch Hotel in Victor, Colorado, is a striking reminder of the town's colorful mining past. Built during the boom of the late 19th century, the hotel once catered to miners, travelers, and those seeking a brief escape from the harsh realities of frontier life. Over the decades, the building has retained its historic charm, with ornate woodwork, creaking floors, and antique furnishings that transport visitors back in time. Yet alongside its charm lies a reputation that has grown darker with each passing year, one steeped in tales of restless spirits, unexplained phenomena, and lingering tragedy. Guests checking into the Black Monarch often report an immediate sense of unease. Even during the day, the hallways echo with sounds that seem out of place, the creak of a floorboard in an empty corridor, the faint murmur of voices just beyond the earshot, and doors that click or slam without anyone nearby. These subtle disturbances grow more pronounced at night, when the quiet of the hotel amplifies every footstep and whisper. Some visitors describe the sensation of being watched, a persistent feeling that someone or something is moving unseen just out of the corner of their eyes. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves doors that open or close on their own. Guests have recounted entering their rooms to find doors ajar, even when they were certain they had locked them. Others have had the unsettling experience of hearing repeated knocks or slams on their doors, accompanied by the faint sound of pacing footsteps in the hall. No matter how many times they investigate, the sounds vanish, leaving only the eerie echo of what might have been. Staff members familiar with the hotel's quirks often shrug and warn new visitors to expect the unexpected, suggesting that the spirits of past inhabitants have not yet moved on. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the Black Monarch's haunted reputation revolves around a tragic figure said to inhabit the hallways: the spirit of a prostitute who was murdered in the early 1900s. Local lore claims that she was the victim of a jealous client, her life cut short in one of the hotel's upper rooms. Since that time, numerous guests have reported encountering her apparition. Witnesses describe a shadowy figure, sometimes wearing period clothing, gliding silently along the corridors. Her presence is often accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature, an unshakable sense of sadness, or a faint, mournful whisper that fades when approached. Some guests have reported seeing her reflected in mirrors or windows, only to vanish the moment they turn to confront her directly. The Black Monarch is also known for its shadowy figures moving across walls and ceilings. These shapes are often seen at the edge of vision, shifting in ways that defy logic or explanation. Guests have described glimpsing a figure standing just beyond a doorway or a dark silhouette drifting across a landing, only for it to disappear when they attempt a closer look. Photographs taken within the hotel sometimes capture strange orbs of light, misty shapes, or dark smudges that cannot be attributed to camera flaws. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to the site, intrigued by the reports of electromagnetic anomalies, cold spots, and unexplained sounds that seem to defy conventional explanation. The history of Victor itself adds layers to the Black Monarch's eerie aura. As a mining town, it witnessed both prosperity and hardship. Violence, sudden deaths, and unsolved crimes were not uncommon, and many of those who passed through the town's hotels and boarding houses left unfinished business behind. It is said that the Black Monarch, having been a hub for travelers and temporary residents, absorbed some of this energy. Stories of restless spirits, especially those who met tragic or untimely ends, have circulated for decades, creating a living folklore that continues to attract curious visitors. Even in the present day, the hotel maintains its historic charm while embracing its reputation for the supernatural. Antique furnishings, gaslight-style lamps, and creaking wooden floors all contribute to the sense of stepping back in time. Yet every creak, draft, and unexplained flicker of light reminds visitors that the building is more than just a historical artifact. It is a place where the past remains alive, a place where the tragedies, secrets, and spirits of Victor's early days linger in the shadows. Staff and local guides have numerous stories to share. Housekeepers occasionally report finding rooms rearranged after guests have left, or hearing someone moving in empty corridors. Bartenders and servers recount strange sounds coming from closed-off sections of the hotel, while some have felt sudden chills or the sensation of a presence brushing past them. Paranormal tours often highlight the areas of highest activity, such as the upper floors and hallways near the rooms associated with the murdered woman. Guests are encouraged to explore with caution, and many recount experiences that range from fleeting glimpses of shadows to full-blown encounters with spectral figures. For visitors who are intrigued by history, the Black Monarch offers an immersive experience. Every ornate detail of the building tells a story, and every unexplained phenomenon invites speculation and wonder. Yet for those sensitive to the supernatural, the hotel can feel deeply unsettling. The combination of documented tragedies, anecdotal encounters, and lingering folklore ensures that the Black Monarch remains a prominent fixture on lists of haunted locations in Colorado. Ultimately, the Black Monarch Hotel is a testament to the intersection of history and the paranormal. Its walls hold the echoes of past lives, some vibrant and others tragically cut short. Guests leave with stories that range from curious chills to spine-tingling encounters, and the hotel continues to captivate those drawn to the unknown. For anyone venturing into Victor, Colorado, the Black Monarch stands as a chilling reminder that some places never fully relinquish the memories and the spirits of those who once called them home. The Denver Children's Home, an old brick building tucked into the heart of the city, may seem like a quiet relic of the past, but its history is far from peaceful. Established in the 1800s as an orphanage, the building was meant to provide shelter and care for children who had lost their families. Yet, life within its walls was harsh, and disease and misfortune claimed many young lives over the years. The sorrow and tragedy that marked the lives of these children have left a lingering presence, one that some believe continues to haunt the halls to this day. Staff members who work in the building often share stories that defy simple explanation. Footsteps echo along empty hallways, soft at first, then growing louder, as if someone unseen is pacing back and forth. Sometimes the sound moves from one room to another, never revealing its source. Visitors have reported similar experiences, noting the sensation of being watched as they walk through the building. There is a weight in the air, a heaviness that seems tied to the sorrowful history of those who once called the home their own. Perhaps the most unnerving experiences involve laughter. Faint, high-pitched giggles have been heard drifting through the halls, seemingly coming from rooms that have been empty for decades. The laughter is playful, yet tinged with a sadness, a reminder of lives cut short too soon. Some visitors have followed the sound, only for it to vanish. When they reached the room, it seemed to come from. Others report hearing children calling out names that do not belong to anyone present, their voices echoing in a way that makes it clear they are not merely echoes of the past but active, lingering presences. Visual sightings add another layer of eeriness. Small figures are sometimes glimpsed darting around corners, visible only from the edge of one's vision. These apparitions move quickly, disappearing when looked at directly, leaving behind a chilling impression of movement and presence. Some describe seeing a fleeting shadow near a staircase or a small silhouette standing at the end of a hallway, only to vanish moments later. The effect is subtle but undeniable, creating an atmosphere where the line between the living and the spectral feels almost imperceptible. The architecture of the Denver Children's Home seems to enhance these phenomena. Long corridors, narrow staircases, and rooms that have remained largely unchanged for more than a century create the perfect setting for residual energy. Paranormal investigators suggest that strong emotions, fear, grief, and despair may have imprinted themselves on the building, replaying in the form of sounds, movements, and fleeting figures. For those who enter, the effect is immediate, a sense that the past has not fully released its hold, and that the spirits of the children continue to linger, quietly observing. Even simple actions can trigger experiences. Visitors walking alone may feel tiny, unseen footsteps keeping pace with their own. Doors may creak open by themselves, and faint touches have been reported along arms and shoulders. The spirits are not thought to be malicious. Rather, their presence seems tethered to the memories of their lives, a lingering trace of those who once roamed these halls. It is an unnerving but strangely poignant reminder of the home's history and the children who lived and died within its walls. Walking through the Denver Children's Home is an experience that blends history with the supernatural. Each echo, each flicker of movement, tells a story of lives marked by hardship and loss. Guests leave with the unmistakable sense that they have been watched, that the children of the home continue to make their presence known, and that the building itself carries the memories of the past as clearly as any photograph or document. In its empty halls and quiet corners, the Denver Children's Home is a place where history and haunting coexist, a testament to lives that continue to whisper from beyond the veil. Ilitch Theater, nestled in the heart of Denver, holds a unique place in the city's history. Part of the iconic Ilitch Gardens amusement park, the theater has been entertaining audiences since the late 19th century. Over its long life, it has hosted countless plays, musicals, and vaudeville acts, becoming a cultural hub for the city. Yet behind the bright lights and the echoes of applause lies a darker, more mysterious side. For decades, visitors and staff alike have reported strange occurrences, earning Ilitch Theater a reputation as one of Denver's most haunted locations. The stories begin with the sounds. Many who have attended late-night rehearsals or toured the theater after hours describe hearing applause echoing through empty seats, as if an unseen audience is still present. These sounds are not merely distant or muffled. They seem to reverberate through the walls, lingering in the hallways, and fading only when one leaves the theater entirely. Staff members often report hearing voices, carrying conversations, laughter, and the shouts of performers long after the building has closed. Sometimes, these voices are recognizable as lines from old plays, repeated word for word, as though the actors of the past are endlessly performing for no one. Backstage is where many of the more chilling reports originate. Employees have described seeing shadowy figures darting across the wings or standing silently by the dressing rooms. One of the most persistent apparitions is said to be a spectral actress, eternally preparing for a performance that never arrives. She is often described as wearing period costume from the early 1900s, adjusting her dress and arranging her hair as though following the familiar routines of a long-forgotten production. Crew members have occasionally glimpsed her reflection in mirrors, only for the figure to vanish when approached. Some claim that her presence is accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature, as if a cold breeze follows her movements through the backstage corridors. It is not just visual phenomena that have fueled Illich Theater's haunted reputation. Doors are frequently reported to open and close on their own, and props or costumes are sometimes found moved or misplaced without explanation. Lighting technicians have recounted seeing stage lights flicker without being powered on, and microphones occasionally pick up faint whispers when the theater is empty. Even the seating areas have their own peculiar activity. Some visitors feel an invisible pressure on the chairs, as if someone is sitting there, only to turn and find the rows completely empty. Witnesses have also noted the sensation of being watched, particularly in areas once reserved for performers. Visitors often describe an uneasy feeling creeping up their spine, a sense that the theater's former inhabitants are still observing their every move. Some have reported fleeting touches on the shoulder or the back, while others feel cold drafts brushing past them in the otherwise still building. For those sensitive to the supernatural, the theater seems to hum with residual energy, a lingering presence of the countless actors, crew, and audience members who passed through its doors over the decades. The theater's history contributes heavily to these reports. Illich Theater has seen generations of performers, many of whom poured their hearts into productions and lived for the applause of audiences. For some, the dedication to their craft may have created a lasting connection to the space, binding their spirits to the theater even after death. Others believe that tragedies, illness, and the passing of beloved performers during the theater's long history may have left emotional imprints that manifest as ghostly activity. Whether the hauntings are the result of residual energy, interactive spirits, or something more inexplicable, they have become an inseparable part of the Illich Theater experience. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the theater, setting up cameras, audio recorders, and electromagnetic field detectors in hopes of capturing evidence of the unexplained. Many report recording footsteps, whispers, and faint clapping when the theater is empty. Some have captured shadowy movements on video, fleeting glimpses of figures moving across the stage or through the wings. While skeptics often attribute these events to the building settling or the echoes of past activity, the frequency and consistency of the reports suggest something more supernatural at play. Despite the eerie activity, the theater continues to function as a cultural landmark. Tours, performances, and historical events bring visitors from near and far, and many are drawn specifically by its haunted reputation. Guides often recount the stories of the spectral actress and the phantom applause, giving audiences a taste of the theater's mysterious side. Visitors leave with more than just memories of performances. They carry the impression that the past is very much alive, lingering just out of sight in the dimly lit corridors and empty seats. In the end, Illich Theater is a place where history and haunting intertwine. Its long stage, the echoes of applause, and the whispers in the wings serve as reminders that the energy of those who once breathed life into its productions has not entirely faded. Whether one experiences fleeting shadows, phantom sounds, or sudden chills, the theater leaves an impression that lingers long after the doors close. Here, the ghosts of actors and performers are not malevolent but persistent, continuing to rehearse, perform, and exist in a space they once called home, offering a hauntingly beautiful connection to Denver's theatrical past. The Brown Palace Hotel in downtown Denver stands as a testament to elegance, history, and mystery. Since its opening in 1892, the hotel has welcomed presidents, celebrities, and dignitaries, offering luxurious accommodations and a sense of timeless grandeur. Its marble halls, sweeping staircases, and ornate chandeliers reflect a bygone era of refinement. But beyond the opulent facade lies a reputation for paranormal activity that has intrigued visitors for over a century. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the mysterious music of a ghostly string quartet. Guests and staff alike have described hearing the delicate strains of violins, cellos, and a viola playing in the hotel's grand ballroom late at night. What makes these experiences particularly chilling is that the music often begins when the room is empty, no musicians are present, and the hotel is silent except for the sound of instruments. Some visitors have reported hearing familiar waltzes and classical pieces, notes floating elegantly through the air, only to vanish abruptly, as if the musicians themselves had simply disappeared. Staff members have recounted instances of checking the ballroom during these occurrences, finding no evidence of anyone present. Yet the music persists, leaving an unsettling echo that seems to linger long after the sound stops. The haunting doesn't stop with music. Guests frequently report sightings of a woman in Victorian clothing wandering the upper floors of the hotel. Some describe her as elegantly dressed in a flowing gown, her hair perfectly styled, moving silently down the corridors, or standing at the end of the hallway observing them with a calm, almost melancholic presence. She appears without warning, sometimes vanishing when approached, leaving only the faint scent of perfume lingering in the air. Many speculate that she could be a former guest or a resident from the hotel's early years, a spirit unwilling to leave the building she once considered home. Other paranormal events at the Brown Palace are more subtle, yet no less unnerving. Staff members often describe feeling a presence in the hallways late at night, a sense that someone is watching or following them, even when they are alone. Doors have been known to open and close on their own. Lights flicker without explanation, and objects sometimes move from one place to another without human intervention. Some guests have experienced sudden drops in temperature in certain areas, a cold spot that seems to cling to them as they walk down the hall. These experiences contribute to the hotel's eerie reputation, creating an environment where the elegant and the supernatural coexist. Room 505 and Room 808 are particularly notorious among paranormal enthusiasts. Guests staying in these rooms have reported hearing footsteps outside their doors at odd hours, soft whispers that cannot be traced to any human source, and furniture slightly displaced in the mornings. One recurring story involves a guest who awoke to find their bed gently shaking, as though someone had briefly settled into it beside them. While skeptics often attempt to rationalize these events as the result of old building creaks, settling floors, or the imagination of visitors, the consistency of these reports over decades has made the Brown Palace a focal point for ghost hunters and curious travelers alike. Historical events contribute to the hotel's haunted reputation. Over the decades, the Brown Palace has been the site of lavish parties, political gatherings, and even scandals. Many notable figures have passed through its halls, and it is believed that the intensity of emotions experienced, joy, heartbreak, ambition, and grief may have left an imprint, a psychic residue that occasionally manifests in spectral form. Stories of guests and staff encountering past patrons, sensing presences, or hearing music and voices connect the hotel's elegant history with its supernatural legacy. Paranormal investigators visiting the hotel have documented unusual activity using a range of tools. EMF meters often spike in empty hallways. Recordings sometimes capture unexplained whispers, and photographs occasionally reveal faint shapes or orbs that defy natural explanation. Investigators note that the spirit of the string quartet seems to prefer the ballroom, while the woman in Victorian attire appears most frequently on the upper floors. suggesting that these entities may have chosen specific areas to linger, tied perhaps to memories or events from their lives, despite or perhaps because of its haunted reputation. The Brown Palace remains a premier destination for visitors to Denver. Guests seeking luxury and history often find themselves intrigued by the ghost stories that surround the hotel. Some are skeptical, others are genuinely frightened, and many simply enjoy the thrill of knowing that they may be sharing the halls with unseen residents. The hotel embraces its mystique in subtle ways, allowing the stories to circulate while preserving the elegance and sophistication that have defined it for more than a century. In the end, the Brown Palace Hotel stands as more than just a place of luxury. It is a living piece of history, intertwined with the paranormal. The ghostly music of the string quartet, the silent wanderings of the Victorian lady, and the unexplained movements and sensations throughout the building create an atmosphere where the past is never truly past. Guests leave with more than memories of fine dining and opulence. They leave with a sense that the hotel is alive in ways that defy explanation. Whether one believes in spirits or chalks up the experiences to imagination, the Brown Palace Hotel remains a place where history, elegance, and the supernatural intersect, leaving an indelible impression on all who pass through its grand doors. Fitzsimmons Army Hospital in Aurora, Colorado, is a site steeped in history, tragedy, and the unexplained. Established in 1918, it served as a major military hospital for decades, treating soldiers from World War I through the Vietnam War. Over the years, thousands of patients walked its sterile halls, many arriving with injuries, illnesses, or trauma that left both physical and emotional scars. The sheer volume of suffering that occurred within its walls has left an indelible mark, and today, Fitzsimmons is considered one of Colorado's most haunted locations. Despite portions of the campus being demolished and redeveloped, several abandoned wings remain, largely untouched and left to decay. These vacant corridors exude a sense of lingering energy that visitors often describe as oppressive and unnerving. People entering these empty halls frequently report sudden chills, unexplained drafts, and the unmistakable sensation of being watched. Some have felt invisible hands brush against their shoulders or backs, while others have claimed to hear the distant echo of footsteps following them, only to find no one there. One of the most common reports comes from those who explore the old patient wards. Visitors often describe hearing moaning, groaning, and quiet whispers that seem to originate from the walls themselves. Some say the sounds are the echoes of soldiers enduring painful treatments, while others believe they are restless spirits, trapped by memories of illness and suffering. A few accounts even describe the sound of medical carts rattling down empty hallways, as though staff are still tending to patients long after the hospital ceased operation. Shadowy figures are another frequent phenomenon reported at Fitzsimmons. People claim to see humanoid shapes moving just beyond the edge of their vision, disappearing when confronted directly. Some witnesses have seen faint silhouettes in windows or at the end of hallways, their forms vaguely human but distorted, as if existing between two worlds. Paranormal investigators suggest that these apparitions could be residual energy from those who spent their final days in the hospital, replaying fragments of life and death on a loop. The morgue, in particular, is a hotspot for unexplained activity. Those brave enough to enter report cold spots, strange odors, and the sensation of being touched by unseen hands. Some have seen fleeting images of figures lying on tables, only to vanish when the light catches them. Others hear the clatter of instruments and the whisper of voices conducting procedures that no longer take place. The combination of physical abandonment and emotional residue seems to amplify the paranormal activity in this section of the hospital, creating an atmosphere that is simultaneously terrifying and fascinating. Even exterior spaces around Fitzsimmons carry a heavy energy. Visitors walking along the overgrown paths and neglected parking lots have reported seeing figures dressed in outdated military uniforms, silently marching or standing at attention before fading into the shadows. Some have heard commands barked in the distance, or the clinking of metals and boots against the concrete. Local legend suggests that these spirits may be the echoes of soldiers who never left the hospital. bound to the grounds where they received care or where they met their end. Employees and security personnel who patrol the property at night frequently encounter phenomena as well. Lights flicker in abandoned wings, doors open and close on their own, and surveillance cameras occasionally capture figures that vanish before anyone can investigate. Many staff members have learned to navigate the hospital with caution, respecting the unseen presence they believe inhabits the space. There is a pervasive understanding that Fitzsimmons is not merely abandoned, it is occupied in ways that challenge the limits of perception. Paranormal investigators and thrill seekers continue to explore Fitzsimmons, documenting strange lights, cold spots, and audio anomalies. Some use equipment to detect electromagnetic fluctuations or capture electronic voice phenomena, hoping to communicate with the spirits that may linger. While skeptics argue that fear and suggestion play a significant role, countless first-hand accounts cannot easily be dismissed. The hospital's tragic history, combined with consistent reports of ghostly activity, has cemented its reputation as a haunted landmark. Despite its abandoned sections and eerie atmosphere, Fitzsimmons has also been repurposed in parts, with modern buildings now housing medical research and offices. Yet the old hospital wings remain a silent reminder of the past, preserving the energy of those who once walked its halls. Visitors often leave with an uncanny feeling, as if they have briefly glimpsed the boundary between the living and the dead. Fitzsimmons Army Hospital stands as a testament to the enduring connection between tragedy and the supernatural. The echoes of suffering, care, and loss continue to resonate through its abandoned corridors, drawing those intrigued by the unknown. For some, it is a place to explore history. For others, it is a site where the veil between worlds feels thin and uncertain. Whether one encounters faint whispers, shadowy figures, or the unsettling sensation of being followed, Fitzsimmons offers a chilling reminder that places of great human emotion often leave marks that can not easily be erased. The Fairplay Hotel in Fairplay, Colorado, is an unassuming establishment that has quietly amassed a reputation for paranormal activity over the decades. Built in the 1920s, during the town's mining boom, the hotel originally catered to prospectors, travelers, and families seeking lodging in the heart of South Park. Its rustic charm and classic early 20th century architecture make it a picturesque stop for visitors. But behind its warm exterior lies a history tinged with tragedy, mystery, and the unexplained. From the moment guests enter the Fairplay Hotel, some sense an unusual atmosphere. Many describe the lobby as slightly colder than the outside air, and a quiet stillness often hangs over the common areas even when the hotel is occupied. While some chalk this up to the building's age or the mountain air, others feel an intangible presence, a sensation that they are not entirely alone. Visitors often report hearing disembodied voices, whispers that come from empty hallways, laughter echoing through stairwells, and soft murmurings that seem to vanish when approached. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sound of children laughing late at night. Guests in upper-floor rooms have recounted hearing playful giggles and running footsteps in corridors where no one is visible. Some have gone to investigate, only to find the halls deserted, the rooms locked, and no trace of the source. The laughter is often described as both joyful and eerie, carrying a strange weight that can send shivers down the spine. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that these sounds may be residual energy from children who once stayed at the hotel, or perhaps echoes from earlier tragic events that marked the property. Another common experience involves doors that move on their own. Patrons have reported doors swinging open or slamming shut without any discernible cause. In some cases, a room door will slowly creak open while the occupant is lying in bed, or a closet door will rattle as though someone or something has just passed by. Staff members, too, have described walking down hallways and finding doors that were previously closed now standing ajar, only to return to their original position minutes later. These incidents have fostered a sense of cautious respect among employees and guests alike, many of whom leave offerings or small tokens, hoping to appease any restless spirits. The most unsettling encounters, however, involve the sighting of a ghostly woman. She is often described as tall, with long, flowing clothing that appears out of a bygone era. Some witnesses see her standing silently at the end of hallways, watching with an expressionless face. Others have glimpsed her passing quickly through a corridor, only for her to vanish when approached. Guests who have encountered her often report a sudden drop in temperature and an oppressive feeling, as if the very air has thickened. Those who have seen her describe a mix of fear and sorrow, suggesting that her presence may be tied to unresolved tragedy. Over the years, stories of hauntings at the Fairplay Hotel have grown in number and detail. One guest recounted waking in the middle of the night to see a small child standing beside her bed, smiling silently before disappearing into the darkness. Another described hearing the faint strains of a lullaby drifting from an empty room, the melody incomplete and unsettling. Maintenance staff have shared stories of tools moving inexplicably, furniture shifting, and lights flickering without electrical explanation. Even those skeptical of ghosts often leave the hotel with an uneasy feeling, a lingering sense that the building itself is alive in ways that cannot be measured. The hotel's history provides some context for these occurrences. Fairplay experienced periods of hardship and tragedy during its mining days, including accidents, illnesses, and the occasional untimely death among workers and travelers. Many believe that such intense emotional experiences left an imprint on the building, a kind of residual energy that manifests as sounds, movements, and apparitions. Over the decades, as the hotel transitioned from a bustling hub for miners to a quieter lodging for tourists, these stories have persisted, passed down by employees, locals, and curious travelers. Paranormal investigators have also taken interest in the Fairplay Hotel, using EMF detectors, audio recording devices, and infrared cameras. They have documented unusual readings throughout the building. Flickering lights, sudden cold spots, and unexplained noises consistently appear during investigations, particularly in hallways where guests have reported seeing the ghostly woman. Some recordings have captured faint whispers or children's laughter that cannot be attributed to any human source, reinforcing the hotel's reputation as one of Colorado's most haunted locations. Despite the eerie reputation, the Fairplay Hotel continues to welcome guests. Many visitors are drawn not only to the historical charm and mountain scenery, but also to the allure of encountering the supernatural. The combination of old-world architecture, rich history, and reported paranormal activity creates a unique atmosphere where the line between past and present feels blurred. Guests often leave with tales of ghostly encounters, whether fleeting glimpses of the spectral woman, the echo of invisible footsteps, or the inexplicable laughter of children drifting through the hallways. In the end, the Fairplay Hotel is more than just a place to stay. It's a living repository of memories, energy, and mystery. The laughter of children, the whispers of unseen voices, and the fleeting presence of the ghostly woman remind visitors that some histories never truly fade. Whether these occurrences are the echoes of past tragedies, the imprints of previous lives, or something entirely unexplainable, one thing remains certain: the Fairplay Hotel continues to haunt the imaginations of all who cross its threshold, leaving a chilling, unforgettable mark that lingers long after guests depart. Miramont Castle, perched in the scenic town of Manitou Springs, Colorado, is a striking example of Victorian architecture with a storied past that stretches back to the late 1800s. Originally built as a private residence by Father Jean-Baptiste Franklin, the mansion has seen a variety of uses over the decades, from a family home to a boarding house, and eventually a museum. Its grand halls, ornate staircases, and intricately carved woodwork make it a marvel to behold. But behind the elegance lies a legacy of mysterious and supernatural occurrences that continue to captivate and unsettle visitors. From the moment guests step through the heavy wooden doors, there is a sense that Miramont Castle is more than just a historic house. Many who visit report an immediate drop in temperature, a chill that seems to follow them through the long corridors. The castle's hallways, lined with antique furnishings and portraits of long-dead residents, appear to shift in subtle ways. Some paintings are said to move slightly on the wall, tilting at impossible angles, while shadows seem to slither across the ornate wallpaper, even when no one else is present. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves the grand staircase at the heart of the mansion. Visitors and staff alike claim to hear the echo of footsteps ascending and descending the stairs. Long after the castle has closed for the day, the sound is distinct, deliberate, and heavy, as though someone is pacing with purpose. Many have gone to investigate, only to find the staircase completely empty, the silence returning as abruptly as the footsteps had begun. Some believe that these sounds are the echoes of former residents, perhaps even Father Franklin himself, whose presence is said to linger within the house. The chapel within Miramont Castle is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Those who enter often speak of whispers carried on the air, faint conversations that vanish the moment one tries to focus on them. Some visitors have described hearing prayers or the soft rustle of robes, as if nuns from a bygone era are still tending to their spiritual duties. Others have reported sudden feelings of sorrow or unease while in the chapel, as if the space retains the emotional weight of the countless hours of devotion, conflict, and loss experienced there over the centuries. Paranormal investigators have noted strange readings in this area, including unexplained electromagnetic fluctuations and cold spots that move across the room. Shadows are a common occurrence throughout the castle. Guests frequently report seeing dark shapes gliding along hallways or pausing in doorways, vanishing when approached. Some describe the shadows as humanoid in form, moving independently from the natural play of light and the flickering of lamps. In the upstairs rooms, visitors have reported seeing fleeting glimpses of figures standing at the edge of vision, disappearing when they try to turn and face them. These apparitions are often accompanied by a sense of being watched, a subtle pressure that makes even the most skeptical observers feel uneasy. Over the years, countless stories have emerged from those who have spent time in the mansion. One guest recounted sitting in the parlor, only to feel a sudden cold breeze brush past her, followed by the distinct impression that someone was standing directly behind her. Turning around, she saw nothing, yet the sensation of presence remained. Another visitor reported hearing a child's laughter echo through an empty hall, with the sound bouncing off the walls as if carried by an unseen source. Staff members have also shared experiences of doors opening and closing on their own, furniture shifting slightly, and unexplained noises that cannot be traced to the structure itself. Miramont Castle's haunted reputation is further amplified by its historical significance. The house has witnessed the comings and goings of influential figures in the region, as well as the private lives of families whose personal triumphs and tragedies unfolded within its walls. Death, illness, and heartbreak were never far from the mansion's history, and some theorists believe that such intense emotional experiences left residual energy, manifesting as the paranormal events reported today. The stories of wandering nuns, unseen footsteps, and shadowy figures serve as reminders of the human presence that once filled the mansion, refusing to be entirely forgotten. Paranormal enthusiasts are drawn to Miramont Castle not only for the thrill of encountering the supernatural, but also for the opportunity to explore its rich historical context. Ghost hunters equipped with cameras, EMF meters, and audio recorders have documented unusual occurrences, from fleeting images on film to unexplained sounds captured on tape. Some have even claimed to capture shadowy figures on video, moving through rooms with no doors or passages to justify their presence. While skeptics attribute these phenomena to the mansion's age, acoustics, and atmospheric conditions, many visitors leave convinced that there is something beyond the ordinary lingering in the halls. Despite the chilling tales, Miramont Castle remains a popular destination for tourists, historians, and paranormal investigators alike. Its ornate architecture and meticulously preserved interiors provide a window into a bygone era, while its supernatural lore adds a layer of intrigue that few historic sites can match. Guests are often both awed and unnerved, feeling the weight of history pressing in alongside the inexplicable presence of spirits who may never have left. In the end, Miramont Castle is more than just a historical landmark. It is a repository of memories, energy, and mystery. The footsteps on the grand staircase, whispers in the chapel, and shifting shadows across the walls serve as reminders that the past is never truly gone. Visitors leave with stories of ghostly encounters and unexplained phenomena, carrying with them the eerie sense that the mansion itself is alive in ways that cannot be fully explained. Whether the spirits are lingering residents, echoes of emotional energy, or something else entirely, one thing remains certain: Miramont Castle continues to captivate and haunt the imaginations of all who cross its threshold. The Fort Collins Museum in Fort Collins, Colorado, stands as a testament to the region's rich history. Once a military outpost, the building has been repurposed into a museum that showcases local culture, historical artifacts, and the stories of the people who shaped the area. Visitors come to explore exhibits on early settlers, the military presence, and the town's evolution. But behind the glass cases and curated displays lies a history that is far more spectral than most guests realize. Employees and paranormal enthusiasts alike have long claimed that the museum is haunted, and the stories surrounding the old military building are as chilling as they are persistent. The building itself exudes an air of quiet authority, its wooden floors creaking under even the lightest step, tall ceilings echoing the past, and the walls steeped in decades of history. By day, the museum offers an immersive look into Fort Collins' development, but by night, it transforms into a place of unexplained phenomena. Many staff members have recounted experiences that defy logic, beginning with the sounds of boots walking across the wooden floors when no one is present. The echoes are deliberate and measured, reminiscent of a soldier on patrol, and seem to follow visitors from one exhibit room to another. Several staff members have admitted to pausing in hallways, straining to see if someone is there, only to find the corridors empty and silent, the sound fading as if swallowed by the shadows. Whispers are another common occurrence within the museum. Employees describe soft voices murmuring in the corners of rooms, often too faint to make out any coherent words, yet unmistakably human. Sometimes, the whispers seem to respond to movement, following the steps of anyone walking alone through the hallways. Others have reported hearing names being called, though no one else is present, or faint conversations that abruptly stop when one tries to investigate. Many believe these sounds are echoes of soldiers or townspeople from long ago, trapped in the memory of the building itself, unable or unwilling to move on. Objects moving on their own is another eerie aspect of the Fort Collins Museum's paranormal reputation. Staff have noted display items shifting slightly, books sliding off shelves, and even small artifacts appearing in different places from where they were left. One employee recalled a heavy wooden chair being pushed across a room, leaving scratch marks on the floor, yet when she looked around, no one was there to account for its movement. Others have reported small trinkets spinning, glass cabinets rattling, or lights flickering without explanation. These inexplicable events often occur late at night when the museum is empty, reinforcing the impression that unseen hands linger within the space. The museum's historical context adds another layer to its haunted reputation. As a former military outpost, the building has witnessed the comings and goings of soldiers, settlers, and travelers over centuries. Some of these individuals may have met tragic ends or carried heavy burdens, leaving residual energy that continues to manifest as ghostly activity. Researchers in paranormal studies often suggest that locations with intense emotional histories, fear, sorrow, discipline, and even moments of triumph can retain an energy imprint, and the Fort Collins Museum fits this profile perfectly. The building's creaking floors, sudden cold drafts, and unexplained sounds may well be echoes of these past experiences, persisting through time. Visitors who explore the museum during the day occasionally encounter unexplained phenomena as well. Some have felt sudden chills when standing near certain exhibits or claim that mannequins seem to watch them from the corners of their eyes. Others have seen shadows flitting across walls or caught glimpses of figures out of the corner of their vision. While many dismiss these sightings as tricks of the light or imagination, the consistency of the reports from different people over time suggests that something unusual is at play. Paranormal investigators have taken a particular interest in the Fort Collins Museum, conducting overnight explorations with cameras, audio equipment, and electromagnetic field meters. Many report capturing unexplained sounds on audio recorders, voices, footsteps, and subtle knocks that cannot be attributed to wind, settling wood, or passing animals. Some have photographed orbs of light that appeared to drift through the rooms, and others have caught shadowy silhouettes in areas that should be completely dark. While skeptics attribute these phenomena to the building's age, acoustics, or environmental factors, the sheer volume and similarity of experiences across decades have convinced many that the Fort Collins Museum is more than just a historical site. Despite the eerie occurrences, the museum remains a beloved part of the community, drawing visitors interested in local history, education, and the supernatural. Guests often leave with a mixture of fascination and unease, recounting stories of unexplained footsteps, cold drafts, and fleeting shadows. For many, these encounters enhance the experience, offering a direct connection to the past that is both tangible and mysterious. The combination of history and hauntings creates an atmosphere that is unique, making the museum a destination for those seeking to explore the unseen alongside the known. Ultimately, the Fort Collins Museum stands as a place where history and the paranormal converge. The wooden floors, echoing hallways, and carefully preserved artifacts are not just markers of the past. They may also be conduits for lingering spirits, echoes of lives lived long ago. Whether the sounds of boots on the floor, the whispers in the air, or objects moving inexplicably are the result of restless souls, or simply the imagination of those who wander its halls, the effect is undeniable. The building retains a presence, a reminder that history is alive in ways that are both fascinating and unsettling. Visitors and staff alike continue to be drawn to the Fort Collins Museum, each encounter offering a glimpse into a mysterious world that exists just beyond the ordinary. Where the past refuses to be forgotten, the Ludlow Massacre site near Trinidad, Colorado, is one of the most tragic and haunting places in the American West. It was here, in April of 1914, that a violent clash between striking coal miners, their families, and the Colorado National Guard erupted into one of the darkest chapters of U.S. labor history. The massacre left dozens dead, including women and children who had sought refuge in a tent colony. Today, the site is preserved as a memorial, but many who visit claim it carries an energy that cannot be explained. Feelings of overwhelming sorrow, sudden cold winds, and ghostly figures have been reported near the monument, as though the echoes of that day still linger in the air. The story of Ludlow begins with the coal miners who worked under brutal and often deadly conditions in southern Colorado's coal fields. Many of these workers were immigrants, drawn to the mines in hopes of building better lives for their families. Instead, they found themselves laboring for long hours in dangerous tunnels under the control of powerful coal companies that owned not just the mines, but also the housing, stores, and even the schools in the mining towns. Wages were low, accidents were common, and miners lived in constant fear of cave-ins, explosions, or toxic gases. By 1913, frustration had reached its breaking point. Thousands of miners, led by the United Mine Workers of America, went on strike to demand better pay, safer conditions, and the right to unionize. When the companies retaliated by evicting them from their company-owned homes, the miners and their families built tent colonies in the surrounding countryside. Ludlow became the largest of these settlements, a sprawling camp of canvas shelters where hundreds of men, women, and children lived while they continued their fight for justice. Tension between the strikers and the coal companies escalated quickly. Guards and hired gunmen were brought in to intimidate the miners, and skirmishes broke out in the area. On April 20, 1914, the standoff at Ludlow reached its bloody conclusion. Colorado National Guard troops, along with company guards, surrounded the tent colony. But what followed was a day-long battle. Bullets ripped through the camp, and as the tents caught fire, chaos consumed the settlement. By the end of the massacre, at least 21 people were dead, though some estimates suggest the number was higher. Among the victims were 2 women and 11 children, who suffocated after hiding in a cellar beneath a burning tent. Their deaths shocked the nation and drew attention to the miners' struggle. But for the families who had lived there, the loss was immeasurable. More than a century later, the site of the Ludlow massacre remains both a place of remembrance and a place of mystery. A granite monument now stands over the grounds, honoring the miners and their families who perished that day. Visitors often describe feeling an intense wave of grief when they approach the site, as if the earth itself remembers the pain and suffering that unfolded there. Some report that the air grows inexplicably cold, even on warm summer days, and that sudden gusts of wind sweep across the memorial without warning. Others claim to have seen ghostly figures near the monument or in the surrounding fields. Shadows that move against the light, fleeting glimpses of women in old-fashioned clothing, and the faint outlines of children have all been reported. Some have even said they hear faint voices on the wind whispers in languages once spoken by the immigrant miners, or the cries of children carried across the open prairie. Paranormal investigators who have visited the site often describe strange phenomena with their equipment. Electronic voice recordings sometimes capture unexplained sounds, pleas for help, or fragments of conversation that seem to belong to another time. EMF meters, which measure changes in electromagnetic fields, often spike near the monument and the cellar where the women and children perished. Many believe the trauma of the massacre left an imprint on the land, a kind of spiritual scar that has not faded with time. For those who visit Ludlow, the experience is rarely forgotten. Some describe it as profoundly moving, a reminder of the human cost of injustice. Others find it unsettling, as though they are not alone when they stand among the ruins of the tent colony. Whether one believes in spirits or not, the atmosphere of Ludlow is undeniably heavy. It is a place where history feels alive, where the silence of the plains is broken by memories too powerful to vanish. In the rugged mountains of Chaffee County, Colorado, lies one of the most fascinating and eerie relics of the state's mining past. St. Elmo, a ghost town that seems frozen in time. Founded in 1880 during the frenzy of the Colorado silver boom, St. Elmo quickly grew into a thriving mining community with nearly 2,000 residents. At its peak, the town boasted hotels, saloons, a telegraph office, a school, and even its own railroad line. But like so many mining towns, St. Elmo's prosperity was fleeting. When the mines closed and the railroad ceased operations, the population dwindled, leaving behind only crumbling structures, forgotten dreams, and according to countless visitors, the lingering presence of those who refused to leave. One of the most enduring legends of St. Elmo centers on the Stark family, who were among the last residents to abandon the town. The Starks operated the town's general store, a hub of daily life for the dwindling population. After most of the miners and families moved away, Annabelle Stark and her relatives stubbornly remained, refusing to accept that St. Elmo had become a ghost town. Annabelle, in particular, became an iconic figure in local lore, dressed in her old-fashioned clothes and fiercely protective of her home. She reportedly lived out her days in the fading town, watching over the store long after the last train left the station. When she passed away, locals say her spirit never truly left. Today, visitors to St. Elmo often report strange and unsettling experiences around the old general store. Many claim to see Annabelle's ghostly figure peering through the windows, her eyes following them as they walk past. Some describe her as a stern presence, as if she's guarding the town she refused to give up. Tourists have reported sudden chills when standing near the store, as if an unseen figure is close by. Cameras sometimes malfunction near the building, with photographs developing blurred or streaked with light. Despite clear weather conditions, the stories don't end with Annabelle. Travelers and ghost hunters alike speak of disembodied footsteps echoing along the wooden boardwalks. Long after the sun has set, shadows flit across empty rooms, and some say they've heard faint laughter drifting from the old saloon, though its doors have long been locked. On particularly quiet nights, a piano is said to play from one of the abandoned hotels, though no one is inside. These sounds and sightings only add to the sense that St. Elmo is more than just a preserved relic. It's a place where the past is still alive, refusing to be silenced. The town itself is striking in its preservation. Unlike many ghost towns that crumbled into dust, St. Elmo's buildings remain remarkably intact, offering an unsettling glimpse into 19th century life. The old schoolhouse, the post office, and the saloons stand as though waiting for their occupants to return. This eerie stillness only amplifies the feeling of being watched, as if the spirits of miners, shopkeepers, and families are lingering, unwilling to let go of the town they once called home. One recurring account comes from visitors who say they felt an invisible hand brush against their shoulders or arms while exploring the abandoned streets. Others report hearing the crunch of footsteps behind them, only to turn and find no one there. The most chilling tales involve people who claim they've seen ghostly figures wandering the town, miners in dusty clothes, women in long dresses who vanish when approached. These apparitions seem to blur the line between history and haunting, leaving visitors to wonder if the spirits of St. Elmo are simply replaying their lives, trapped in an endless loop of memory. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to St. Elmo for decades, and many bring back stories of unexplained phenomena. Some report strong electromagnetic readings near the general store and other buildings, even though there is no source of electricity. Cold spots appear in broad daylight, and recording devices have picked up faint voices, including what sounds like a woman telling people to leave. Those who believe in Annabelle's presence suggest that she is still guarding the store, just as fiercely as she did in life. Even skeptics admit that St. Elmo has an atmosphere unlike any other. The isolation of the mountains, the silence that settles over the streets, and the perfectly preserved wooden facades create a haunting stage for the imagination. Yet the sheer number of first-hand accounts makes it difficult to dismiss the stories as mere tricks of the mind. Something lingers in St. Elmo's, something that refuses to be forgotten. For those who visit, the ghost town offers more than just a history lesson. It provides a glimpse into a world where time seems suspended, where echoes of the past whisper through the air, and where the veil between the living and the dead feels remarkably thin. Whether it's the stern gaze of Annabelle Stark watching from her window, the ghostly laughter of miners still celebrating their fleeting fortunes, or the unseen footsteps following along the boardwalk, St. Elmo continues to captivate and unsettle all who walk its streets. In the end, St. Elmo is more than a preserved ghost town. It is a place where the past refuses to let go. The spirits that linger there are a testament to lives lived in hardship, perseverance, and stubborn pride. And as long as visitors continue to feel the chill of Annabelle's watchful presence, the legend of St. Elmo will never fade, ensuring that this ghost town remains one of Colorado's most haunted treasures. The Denver Firefighters Museum stands as both a tribute to the bravery of those who once battled flames and a reminder that not all who served there have truly left. Located in the heart of Denver, this historic building once operated as Fire Station No. 1, opening its doors in 1909. For decades, it was alive with the clang of bells, the thundering sound of boots racing across the floors, and the whinnying of horses that once pulled heavy fire wagons through the city streets. Today, the building has been preserved as a museum, filled with artifacts, uniforms, vintage fire trucks, and the legacy of a profession built on sacrifice. But beneath its proud history lies a darker, more mysterious side. Many say that not all of the firefighters ever left the building, and their restless spirits continue to make their presence known. Visitors who step into the museum often remark on the uncanny atmosphere that hangs in the air. Some describe a sudden chill sweeping through the rooms, particularly near the old sleeping quarters, where firefighters once lay, waiting for the alarm bell to jolt them awake. Others have heard what they swear are heavy bootsteps echoing across the floorboards, as if unseen men are still rushing to answer a call that never comes. These phantom footsteps often occur when the museum is nearly empty, leaving guests to look nervously around, only to find they are alone. One of the most chilling reports comes from visitors who claim to hear the sound of the old fire alarms suddenly ringing out. The alarms, of course, have long been disconnected, preserved only as exhibits. Yet several witnesses insist they've heard the clang of bells reverberating through the halls, followed by the faint voices of men shouting orders. Some even describe hearing the words, "Let's go," echoing as though firefighters are still preparing to mount their engines. When museum staff investigate, they find only silence and empty rooms. The old horse stalls in the lower level add to the unease. Long ago, before motorized engines, horses were kept there to haul the fire wagons into action. A few visitors claim they've smelled the unmistakable scent of hay and sweat, and even heard phantom whinnies and the stamping of hooves. The sounds come out of nowhere, in a part of the building where no animals have lived for nearly a century. It is as though the memory of those frantic moments of preparation has been forever imprinted in the structure of the firehouse. Staff members, many of whom have spent years working in the museum, have their own stories to tell. Some have reported hearing faint voices calling out, sometimes their names, in otherwise empty corridors. Others say that after closing, objects have been mysteriously moved overnight, as if someone or something still inhabits the place and interacts with its displays. Tools shift positions, chairs are found dragged across the floor, and doors occasionally swing open on their own. One of the most unnerving stories involves a figure that has been seen on the second floor near the old dormitory. Several visitors have reported glimpsing the silhouette of a man standing there, often dressed in what looks like an old-fashioned firefighter's uniform. He appears only briefly, before fading into the shadows. Witnesses often describe an overwhelming sense of sorrow or exhaustion when they encounter this apparition, as though the spirit still carries the weight of battles long past. The Denver Firefighters Museum, for all its historical displays and educational programs, carries an energy that feels alive with more than just memory. It is a place where time seems to overlap, where the past refuses to be confined to photographs and artifacts. For those who visit, it offers not only a look into Denver's firefighting history, but also an encounter with something far more mysterious. Perhaps the building itself, shaped by years of urgency, sacrifice, and danger, has absorbed the echoes of the men and animals who once lived and died within its walls. Whether the spirits of firefighters remain to watch over their station, to relive their duty, or simply because they cannot let go of the place they once called home. One thing is certain: the Denver Firefighters Museum is far more than a static collection of relics. It is a living reminder of bravery and of the thin veil that separates the past from the present. For those who walk its halls, every creak of the floor, every phantom voice, and every echo of unseen footsteps may just be a call from those who refuse to be forgotten. The Sheridan Inn in Sheridan, Wyoming, holds a special place in Western history. Built in 1893, the inn quickly became a social hub for cowboys, railroad men, travelers, and performers passing through the frontier. Its most famous connection is to William "Buffalo Bill" Cody, who not only helped promote the hotel, but also held auditions for his legendary Wild West show right on its front porch. Over the decades, the Sheridan Inn has welcomed ranchers, dignitaries, and wanderers alike. But behind its charming exterior and rich history lies a reputation for paranormal activity that continues to draw ghost hunters and curious travelers. The inn's architecture itself sets the stage for mystery. Its long wooden porches, steep gables, and looming roofline create a presence that is both inviting and imposing. Guests describe the building as having an energy that feels alive, as though it is holding on to the memories of the countless people who once walked its halls. The Sheridan Inn is no mere relic. It is a place where history lingers, where echoes of the past are said to drift into the present. One of the most well-known ghost stories tied to the inn involves a woman in white who is said to walk the hallways. She has been spotted by both guests and staff over the years, often appearing at the top of the stairs or gliding past the doorways of unoccupied rooms. Witnesses describe her as wearing a flowing gown from the late 19th or early 20th century, her form pale and shimmering in the dim light. Some claim that when they try to approach her, she vanishes instantly, leaving only a faint chill in the air. Speculation about her identity ranges from a heartbroken bride left behind by a soldier to one of the inn's early employees who lived and died within its walls. Others suggest she may even be tied to Buffalo Bill himself, as his spirit is said to remain bound to the inn in subtle ways. Though Cody died in Denver in 1917, his body was brought to the inn for public viewing. Before being buried on Lookout Mountain, many believe his energy still resonates with the building he loved so dearly. And some visitors swear they heard the faint sound of spurs clicking against the wooden floors when no one else is around. The ballroom is another hotspot of activity. Once filled with music, dancing, and laughter, it is now a place where echoes of the past seem to replay themselves. Guests report hearing phantom music drifting from the ballroom late at night, even when it is empty and dark. Some describe the faint sound of a piano, others the distinct notes of violins or brass instruments. Staff members closing up for the night have admitted to hearing laughter and the muffled shuffle of dancing feet, only to find themselves completely alone when they check. It is as though the parties of the past never truly ended, the spirits determined to keep the celebration alive. The inn's rooms also carry their share of unexplained phenomena. Some guests claim to feel as though they are being watched, especially in rooms on the upper floors. Others have reported objects moving on their own, lamps flickering, suitcases shifting, or doors opening and closing without explanation. One particularly unsettling account involves guests waking in the middle of the night to see a shadowy figure standing at the foot of their bed, watching silently before fading away into the darkness. Employees, too, have their own stories. Many say they've grown accustomed to hearing footsteps in empty hallways or doors closing in parts of the building that are locked up. A few have even spoken of voices calling out, sometimes a man's voice, sometimes a woman's, though when they follow the sound, they find nothing. For longtime staff, the activity has become part of the inn's character, a reminder that the building is alive with more than just history. Among the more enduring legends is the story of a woman who once lived at the inn for over 6 decades. Miss Kate Arnold, known as the Woman in Brown, worked as a housekeeper and lived on the 3rd floor until her death in 1968. Locals believe her spirit never left. She is said to still roam the halls, tidying up in her spectral way. Guests who stay in rooms near her former quarters report an almost maternal presence, closet doors opening, blankets being tugged up in the night, and the sensation of being cared for by an unseen hand. Unlike other spirits of the inn, Kate's ghost is thought to be more protective than frightening. The Sheridan Inn thrives today as both a historic landmark and a place where the supernatural blends with hospitality. Visitors come for its connection to Buffalo Bill and its role in frontier history. But many leave with stories they cannot quite explain. From phantom music in the ballroom to shadowy figures in the halls, the inn offers a glimpse into a past that refuses to fade away. For some, the hauntings are unsettling. For others, they are a comforting reminder that the inn remains what it always was, a gathering place where laughter, music, and memory linger long after the guests have gone. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, stepping into the Sheridan Inn is stepping into a living story. A place where history is written not only in the pages of books, but in the whispers of spirits that still roam its halls. The Denver Public Library, a modern architectural landmark in downtown Denver, is renowned for its extensive collections, grand reading rooms, and community programs. Yet beneath its impressive facade and bustling public spaces, the library harbors a darker, more mysterious side. For decades, both staff and visitors have reported strange occurrences, events that defy conventional explanation and suggest that unseen forces may be at work within its walls. Among the most commonly reported phenomena are books inexplicably falling from the shelves. Visitors walking through the stacks have described entire rows of books toppling without any human contact. In some cases, books have been found open on tables to pages no one remembers placing them on. Staff members often speak of carefully stacked volumes toppling over while they are in the room alone, or of books reappearing on shelves in sections where they do not belong. These small but persistent disturbances have left many wondering if the library's own history has somehow seeped into its present. Elevators in the building also seem to have a mind of their own. Patrons and employees report elevators moving between floors when no one is inside, or stopping at floors without being called. Some describe hearing the faint creak of the elevator doors opening and closing in empty hallways, or feeling a sudden chill as the elevator lingers between floors. These experiences, while often dismissed as mechanical glitches, are frequent enough that longtime employees swear the movements cannot be entirely explained by technology. Shadowy figures are another common occurrence. Visitors navigating the library's quieter sections have reported seeing fleeting shapes among the stacks, out of the corner of their eyes. These apparitions often vanish when approached, leaving no trace. Some staff members claim to have seen the figures moving deliberately, as though searching for something or guiding those who walk through the aisles. Others speak of the unsettling sensation of being watched, an unshakable feeling that intensifies in the evening or when the library is mostly empty. The library's haunting reputation is often linked to its history and location. Prior to the construction of the current building, the site was reportedly home to unmarked graves, with many of the deceased being buried hastily or without proper memorials. Some researchers and paranormal enthusiasts believe that the spirits of those buried there never fully departed, lingering in the area and interacting with the library that now occupies the space. The juxtaposition of knowledge, learning, and the restless dead creates a unique tension, a blend of intellectual pursuit and spectral presence that many find compelling, if unsettling. Staff who have worked late-night shifts often recount stories of items moving on their own, lights flickering, and computers shutting down inexplicably. One librarian described walking down a seemingly empty aisle, only to feel a hand brush her shoulder. When she turned around, there was no one there. Another employee told of a book cart slowly rolling across the floor, changing direction abruptly as if guided by an invisible force. These accounts, though sometimes dismissed by skeptics, have persisted over the years, forming a pattern that cannot easily be ignored. Visitors have also shared experiences that suggest a subtle form of communication from these unseen presences. Some report hearing whispers when no one is around, as if quiet conversations are taking place among the books. Others have felt sudden temperature drops or cold drafts in otherwise warm areas. These sensations are particularly strong near certain sections of the library, leading some to speculate that the spirits have chosen specific places to linger, perhaps areas where they've spent time in life or where their presence feels most meaningful. Paranormal investigators who have explored the Denver Public Library describe a mix of physical and sensory phenomena. Electronic voice recordings sometimes capture indistinct voices or whispers. EMF meters spike in areas where witnesses have reported seeing shadows or feeling cold spots. Photographs occasionally reveal unexplained orbs or shapes in images of the stacks and reading rooms. Those skeptics argue that many of these occurrences can be explained by environmental factors or human perception. The consistency and frequency of the reports suggest a more enigmatic explanation. The haunting of the Denver Public Library adds an intriguing layer to the city's cultural and historical landscape. Patrons visiting to research, read, or enjoy the architectural beauty may find themselves experiencing moments that defy logic. Books moving without cause, sudden chills, or the fleeting presence of shadowy figures. For some, these experiences are unsettling. For others, they enhance the sense of mystery and wonder inherent in a library filled with centuries of accumulated knowledge. In the end, the Denver Public Library stands as a place where the past and present seem to coexist in unexpected ways. While the shelves hold thousands of books chronicling human achievement and discovery, the building itself may hold remnants of lives long past. Whether one interprets the strange occurrences as supernatural or merely coincidental, there is no denying that something unusual lingers within the library. Each creak of the floorboards, each book that falls without explanation, and each shadow that darts among the stacks serves as a reminder that some stories, particularly those of the past, refuse to remain silent. Visitors leave with more than knowledge. They leave with a sense of wonder and sometimes a subtle unease that stays with them long after they have walked through the library doors. The Colorado Prison Museum in Kagan City stands as a grim reminder of the state's penal history, housed in a former territorial prison that dates back to the late 19th century. The building has been preserved as a museum that educates visitors about the evolution of incarceration in Colorado. From the days of harsh discipline and overcrowded cells to modern correctional practices, the museum tells the story of a system built on control, punishment, and reform. Yet beneath the historical exhibits and preserved artifacts lies a darker, more chilling aspect of the museum: its reputation for being haunted by the restless spirits of former inmates. Visitors entering the Colorado Prison Museum are immediately struck by the imposing architecture and the heavy atmosphere that pervades the corridors. The thick stone walls and narrow hallways, once designed to contain men and women deemed dangerous or unruly, now serve as a backdrop for both historical exploration and paranormal encounters. Numerous reports over the years suggest that the energy of the prisoners, some of whom suffered under harsh conditions or died within the prison, continues to linger in the cells and corridors. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the sound of rattling chains. Visitors and staff alike have recounted hearing the unmistakable jingle of shackles and chains sliding across the stone floors, despite the absence of any living person. These sounds often occur in the old cell blocks, where the tight corridors amplify the echoes, creating an unsettling auditory experience. Many who hear the chains describe a sense of dread, as if the prisoner's suffering has left an imprint on the very structure of the building. Some even report hearing muffled voices calling out, whispers that fade when they try to focus on them, leaving only an eerie silence in their wake. Phantom footsteps are another hallmark of the museum's haunted reputation. Guests exploring the cell blocks late in the day or during private tours often feel the distinct sensation of someone walking just behind them. Yet when they turn, the hallways are empty. The footsteps are described as deliberate and heavy, reminiscent of guards or prisoners moving through the prison long ago. Some visitors report a sudden drop in temperature accompanying the sounds, a cold spot that seems to follow them down the corridor, heightening the sense of unease. Cold spots are particularly prevalent in the older sections of the museum. In rooms that once housed solitary confinement or high-security prisoners, the air sometimes drops to a chilling temperature, even on warm days. Visitors have described feeling an invisible presence brush past them or noticing their breath fog in the air, despite no sign of moisture. The cold seems to concentrate in the cells themselves, suggesting a lingering energy tied to the individuals who suffered there. Sightings of shadowy figures have also been reported. Guests recount glimpsing humanoid shapes moving just beyond the corner of their vision, only to vanish when they try to focus. Some have seen forms peering through the bars of empty cells, their expressions impossible to discern but profoundly unsettling. A few even claim to have seen full apparitions, detailed figures of men in prison uniforms, standing silently, watching as they walk past. These sightings often coincide with the sounds of chains or footsteps, adding layers to the eerie atmosphere. The museum's haunted reputation is not limited to casual visitors. Paranormal investigators have conducted numerous overnight studies within the building, setting up cameras, audio recorders, and electromagnetic field meters. Many have captured unexplained phenomena. Audio recordings reveal ghostly murmurs and footsteps when no one is present. And infrared cameras sometimes detect heedless silhouettes moving through the hallways. Some researchers report electronic devices malfunctioning or flickering inexplicably, suggesting a strong, residual energy in certain areas. Stories from staff add further weight to the museum's eerie legacy. Employees recount objects moving on their own, doors opening and closing, and lights flickering without explanation. Some have felt hands brushing their shoulders or noticed a fleeting presence behind them when walking through the darkened exhibits. Even during the day, when the museum is bustling with visitors, a sense of being watched lingers in certain sections, particularly the older cell blocks, where the history is most intense. The museum embraces its haunted history, not only as a paranormal curiosity, but also as a way to connect visitors to the human experiences of those who lived, suffered, and sometimes died within the prison walls. Guided tours often highlight both the historical and the supernatural, providing guests with a chilling yet educational experience. Whether it's hearing stories of famous inmates, learning about notorious escapes, or listening to first-hand accounts of ghostly activity, visitors are immersed in an environment where the past feels alive. Ultimately, the Colorado Prison Museum stands as a bridge between history and the unexplained. Its thick walls, shadowed corridors, and preserved cells hold stories of human suffering, resilience, and fear. The rattling chains, phantom footsteps, cold spots, and shadowy figures serve as constant reminders that the echoes of the past have not faded entirely. Visitors leave with a sense of awe at the historical significance of the site, and often with a lingering shiver, a recognition that some spirits may never truly rest. The museum is more than just a collection of artifacts. It is a place where history and haunting intersect, inviting those brave enough to explore its corridors to experience the stories of Colorado's prisoners firsthand. The Tabor Opera House in Leadville, Colorado, stands as a monument to the town's glittering past during the silver boom of the late 19th century. Built in 1879 by Horace Tabor, the Opera House quickly became the cultural heart of Leadville, hosting theater productions, concerts, and social events attended by the town's elite. Its grand architecture, featuring ornate balconies, intricate woodwork, and a sweeping stage, reflects the wealth and ambition of the era. Yet behind the opulence lies a history steeped in drama, tragedy, and lingering spirits, making the Tabor Opera House one of Colorado's most haunted locations. Visitors to the Opera House often describe a palpable sense of energy as they step into the theater. The creak of floorboards beneath their feet and the echoing expanse of the hall contribute to an atmosphere thick with history. Many report an unsettling feeling, as if unseen eyes are following their movements, watching from the shadows of the grand balcony or from behind the velvet curtains. The reports of paranormal activity here are numerous and consistent, suggesting that some form of residual energy from the past continues to inhabit the building. One of the most common experiences involves hearing the sound of ghostly performances. Guests and staff alike have reported hearing the faint strains of music and singing coming from the stage long after the theater has closed for the night. Some claim to recognize the voices of actors performing lines from shows that were staged decades ago. The singing often appears accompanied by the sound of footsteps across the wooden floors, as though performers are rehearsing for an audience that no longer exists. These auditory phenomena are so vivid that visitors often pause in the hallways, listening in awe as the echoes of the past fill the air. The balcony of the Opera House is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Several visitors have reported the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps pacing along the upper levels, footsteps that stop abruptly when approached. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving along the balcony rails, figures dressed in period clothing that vanish when observed directly. These experiences suggest the presence of actors or patrons from the theater's golden age, their spirits replaying the scenes of performances long since ended. One of the most striking reported encounters is the apparition of Horace Tabor himself, known as the Silver King. Tabor was a wealthy mine owner whose fortunes rose and fell dramatically during Leadville's boom and bust periods. His presence is said to manifest near the stage and backstage areas, sometimes as a shadowy figure observing from the wings, other times as a more detailed apparition dressed in 19th century formal attire. Witnesses describe a feeling of authority and gravity accompanying his appearance, as if Tabor is still overseeing the theater he built, ensuring that it remains a place of grandeur even in the afterlife. Backstage areas and dressing rooms also hold a reputation for strange activity. Lights flicker inexplicably, doors open and close on their own, and props or costumes have been reported moving without explanation. Some visitors even claim to feel a gentle touch on their shoulders or a sudden chill as they navigate the narrow corridors. Experiences often attributed to former actors and stagehands who continue to linger in the spaces where they once worked. The energy is said to be strongest near the original dressing rooms, where performers prepared for the crowds that filled the Opera House during Leadville's boom years. Staff members who have worked at the Tabor Opera House for decades recount stories that reinforce its haunted reputation. Cleaning crews often report hearing conversations when no one else is present or seeing fleeting glimpses of figures in the peripheral edges of their vision. Tour guides sometimes experience unexplained sounds during evening tours, including the creak of a stage floor, the rustle of curtains, or the faint echo of applause. These phenomena are generally harmless, but leave visitors with a lasting impression of the theater's spectral occupants. Several paranormal investigations have been conducted at the Tabor Opera House, with researchers using audio recording devices, infrared cameras, and electromagnetic field meters to document unusual activity. Many have captured strange noises, shadow figures, and temperature fluctuations that cannot be easily explained. In some cases, recordings reveal disembodied voices responding to questions, as if the spirits are attempting to communicate with the living. These findings have only reinforced the Opera House's reputation as a haunted site and drawn paranormal enthusiasts from across the country. Despite its ghostly residents, the Tabor Opera House remains a cherished cultural landmark. Modern performances and community events continue to take place on its historic stage, blending contemporary life with the lingering echoes of the past. Visitors often report a strange but captivating coexistence of the living and the dead, a place where history and the supernatural intertwine. For many, the experience is both thrilling and humbling, offering a glimpse into the lives of those who once filled the Opera House with music, laughter, and drama. The combination of rich history, architectural grandeur, and reported paranormal activity makes the Tabor Opera House a unique destination in Colorado. From the ghostly actors performing unseen plays to Horace Tabor's commanding presence near the stage, the theater offers a hauntingly immersive experience. Visitors leave with more than memories of a historic building. They carry stories of spectral performances, footsteps in empty corridors, and the undeniable sense that some spirits refuse to leave the stage. The Tabor Opera House, in all its ornate splendor and spectral intrigue, remains a living monument to Leadville's past, where the echoes of the Silver Boom continue to whisper through the shadows of its hallowed halls. Denver's Highland Tavern, tucked within the city's vibrant Highlands neighborhood, is more than just a local bar with strong drinks and good company. To many who step inside its walls, it is a place where the past and present blend in unsettling ways. Built decades ago, the tavern carries with it not only the history of countless patrons who came to drink and socialize, but also whispers of those who never truly left, while regulars and tourists alike come for the music, food, and atmosphere. There are stories that keep some patrons glancing over their shoulders long after the last call has been made. The Highland Tavern has long been considered one of Denver's more peculiar haunts. From the moment someone pushes open the heavy wooden door, there's a feeling that hangs in the air, an energy that can be explained away by the clinking of glasses or the rumble of voices. Employees often describe the tavern after hours as an entirely different place. When the crowds leave and the lights dim, the building seems to breathe, its creaks and groans shifting from ordinary noises to something far more intentional. One of the most common reports centers around glasses that slide off the bar, seemingly on their own. Bartenders recount stories of setting down freshly washed tumblers, only to watch them drift across the polished surface and crash to the floor with no one nearby. At first, some suspected vibrations from music or heavy footsteps, but these incidents have occurred even when the tavern is nearly silent. It's as though unseen hands take delight in mischief, demanding attention in the most disruptive way possible. The laughter is perhaps the most chilling detail of the Highland Tavern's supernatural lore. Patrons sitting alone or in small groups have claimed to hear it echoing through the bar, sharp burst of laughter, full of life, but coming from no identifiable source. More unsettling is the way it often emerges late into the night, when the tavern is quiet and nearly empty. Some describe it as male, others as female, but nearly everyone agrees it carries a mocking, mischievous tone, as though someone is enjoying a private joke at the expense of the living. Employees have come to accept the tavern's haunted reputation as part of its character, though some admit they feel uneasy when working late shifts. One server recalled an evening when she was closing up alone. She heard what sounded like footsteps pacing back and forth in the upstairs hallway. Assuming a customer had stayed behind, she went up to investigate, only to find the hallway completely empty. The sound persisted, following her as she walked, until she quickly locked the doors and fled into the night. For some, the most unnerving sensation is not what they hear, but what they feel. Countless patrons report a prickling on the back of their necks, a sudden weight of being watched, even when no one is behind them. In a bustling tavern, it's easy to dismiss such sensations as the crowd or dim lighting playing tricks on the mind. But when the feeling lingers long into the night, many are left unsettled. More than one visitor has cut their evening short, unable to shake the sense that unseen eyes were tracking their every move. The origins of these hauntings are difficult to trace. The Highland neighborhood itself is one of Denver's oldest, filled with historic buildings that have seen decades of change. It is said that the tavern once stood on land that hosted saloons and gathering places in the city as early days, where disputes and brawls were not uncommon. Some speculate that the restless spirits may belong to men and women who lived hard, rowdy lives and refused to let go of their favorite haunt. Others whisper about tragedies that may have taken place near buffets, turned deadly, or patrons who drank their last within its walls. What keeps people coming back, even knowing its haunted reputation, is the balance of atmosphere. The Highland Tavern thrives on its mix of warmth, community, and the thrill of mystery. Ghost stories often emerge in the middle of the night, when the tavern is at its most lively. A group of friends might lean closer, their drinks forgotten, as one recalls hearing phantom laughter on a previous visit. Another might share the tale of a glass sliding across the counter right in front of them. The tavern has become a place where Denver's history, both its living and spectral sides, entwine in ways that keep patrons hooked. Investigators have also taken interest in the tavern, setting up cameras and audio recorders in hopes of capturing definitive proof, while skeptics dismiss the incidents as imagination fueled by alcohol and dim lighting. Believers argue that the sheer number of consistent reports can't be ignored. Some recordings have picked up faint voices in the background when no one was speaking, and strange shadows occasionally appear in photographs. Though none of the evidence is conclusive, it adds to the tavern's aura of mystery. The Highland Tavern stands as a testament to the way certain places hold on to energy. Whether the laughter is a playful ghost, a former patron reliving their nights of revelry, or something darker lurking in the shadows, no one can say for sure. What is certain is that those who spend time here rarely leave without a story to tell. Some stories are lighthearted, while others carry the edge of fear, but all contribute to the legend of one of Denver's most haunted drinking spots. In the end, the Highland Tavern is more than just a Barrett S. An experience that lingers long after the last drink is poured. Its spirits, whether liquid or otherwise, ensure that the past is never truly gone. Patrons come for the atmosphere and leave with memories that may be tinged with unease. And for those who dare to stay late, when the laughter echoes and the glasses slide, the tavern offers a chilling reminder that in Denver, some parties never end Devon after death. Denver's Riverside Cemetery is the oldest burial ground in Colorado, established in 1876 and home to more than 60,000 graves, stretching across nearly 140 acres. It is not only a resting place for pioneers, politicians, veterans, and outlaws, but also a living museum of the state's turbulent past. Overgrown trees, weathered stones, and crumbling monuments create an atmosphere of somber dignity. But beneath that quiet exterior lies something far more unsettling. Visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike have long claimed that Riverside is more than just a cemetery, it's a place where the line between the living and the dead is perilously thin. By day, Riverside feels like a time capsule of Colorado's history. You'll find the graves of territorial governors, Civil War generals, miners who struck it rich hand, others who met violent ends in gunfights or accidents. But at night, the air changes. Shadows seem to stretch farther than they should, and the silence feels heavy, almost as though the earth itself is holding its breath. Those who have ventured inside after dusk describe the cemetery as eerily alive, with the presence of unseen eyes watching from every corner. One of the most reported phenomena is the appearance of glowing orbs drifting above the gravestones. These orbs, often blue, green, or pale white, float silently through the rows of markers, occasionally darting toward the living before vanishing into the darkness. Paranormal investigators have captured these orbs on camera, and skeptics often dismiss them as dust or reflections. But those who've seen them with their own eyes insist the lights move with intention, hovering as though curious about intruders before disappearing into the night. Shadows are another constant at Riverside. Visitors describe tall, human-shaped figures weaving between the graves, only to dissolve when approached. Some appear to linger near specific plots, as if tied to the person buried beneath. The most chilling encounters are the shadows that don't move at all, figures standing silently in the distance, watching. Witnesses often say they feel a wave of dread just before these silhouettes vanish, as though the spirits resent being noticed. There are also countless stories of disembodied voices carried on the breeze. Whispers of conversations drift through the cemetery, low and urgent, though no one else is nearby. At times, the voices are clear enough to hear words, pleas for help, or a stern command to get out. Security guards patrolling the grounds after hours have reported hearing laughter echoing through the headstones, though the cemetery was entirely empty. One guard described the sound of children playing, followed by a sudden silence that left him too shaken to finish his rounds. Perhaps the most unnerving phenomenon involves phantom footsteps. Visitors walking along the cemetery's dirt paths claim to hear heavy boots following close behind. The crunch of gravel grows louder, closing the gap, but when they turn to look, no one is there. Some even feel a sudden coldness on their neck, as though someone unseen is standing just over their shoulder. A few have left the cemetery in a panic, convinced they were being stalked by something not of this world. Certain graves are said to be more active than others. The resting places of outlaws and gunfighters draw particular attention, with claims of growling voices and feelings of aggression around their markers. One notorious tale speaks of a glowing figure kneeling at the grave of a Civil War veteran, only to dissolve when approached. Others describe a woman in a long dark dress wandering among the plots. She is sometimes seen carrying flowers, leaving them on graves that haven't had visitors in decades. Locals whisper that she may be the ghost of a grieving widow who once tended the cemetery. Even seasoned paranormal investigators have left Riverside unsettled. Equipment frequently malfunctions inside the gate's, cameras shutting down, batteries drained in minutes, recorders capturing strange static punctuated by moans or faint voices. One investigator claimed to hear a loud bang near the mausoleum, like a heavy door slamming shut, though it was locked tight when he checked. Another captured an EVP of a man growling the word "leave" in a deep, guttural tone. But it isn't only ghost hunters who've been affected. Ordinary visitors sometimes leave Riverside carrying the feeling of something dark home with them. Stories circulate of people experiencing nightmares, sudden cold spots in their houses, or the sense of being followed after visiting the cemetery. Some return to leave offerings, flowers, coins, or even apologies, hoping to quiet whatever may have attached itself. What makes Riverside Cemetery especially chilling is the weight of history that lingers there. These are not anonymous graves, but men and women who lived during Colorado's violent and uncertain early years. Many died young miners, caught in accidents, gunfighters shot down in the streets, children claimed by illness. It's no surprise that their stories, and perhaps their spirits, remain tied to the land. Even in daylight, Riverside carries an undeniable energy. Walk among the tilting stones and you'll feel the past pressing close, as though the ground remembers every life, every loss. But once the sun goes down, the veil seems to lift. The orbs, the shadows, the voices, they all suggest that this cemetery is more than just a burial ground. It's a place where the dead still linger, reminding the living that history never really stays buried. For some, Riverside Cemetery is a historic landmark, a piece of Denver's past that deserves preservation. For others, it's a place of unease, where the silence is never truly silent and the night is never truly empty. Those who have walked its rows after dark rarely forget the experience. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's no denying that Riverside has a presence and echo of lives once lived, still whispering through the shadows. The Gold Hill Inn, tucked into the foothills above Boulder, Colorado, is a place where time feels suspended. Built in the mid-1800s, when Gold Hill was a booming mining camp, the inn has endured fire, hardship, and renewal. Today, it is a well-known destination for dining and lodging, drawing visitors with its rustic charm and stunning mountain views. But beneath the surface of its historic appeal lies a layer of mystery and unease. Guests and staff alike whisper of strange encounters, phantom music echoing in the dining room, disembodied footsteps in the halls, and the haunting laughter of a woman who never appears in the flesh. The inn's history is steeped in both triumph and tragedy. Gold Hill was one of Colorado's first mining towns, founded during the gold rush of 1859. In its early years, the town was bustling with prospectors, saloons, and hotels, filled with the hopes of those seeking fortune. But like many mining towns, it faced hardships. Devastating fires swept through the settlement, and economic downturns left it on the verge of collapse. The building that would become the Gold Hill and survive these turbulent times, eventually transforming into the warm and welcoming inn it is today. Yet, some believe the spirits of the past never left. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the sound of music playing in the dining room when no musicians are present. Guests seated at their tables have claimed to hear the faint notes of a piano drifting through the air, sometimes accompanied by the low hum of a violin. The inn often hosts live performances, which makes the reports all the more eerie when the room is empty, when no instruments are out, and yet the melodies still play. A few visitors describe the music as upbeat, reminiscent of old-time dance tunes, while others recall slower, mournful pieces that seemed to resonate with sorrow. Staff members who stay after hours sometimes find themselves pausing in silence, listening to the invisible orchestra filling the room. The upstairs halls carry their own weight of mystery. Guests checking into their rooms often describe hearing footsteps pacing back and forth, especially late at night. The sounds are distinct, the heavy creak of old wooden floorboards pressed under steady steps, the kind that make you expect someone to round the corner at any moment. Yet when they investigate, the hallway remains empty. Some even say the footsteps follow them, echoing just a few paces behind, only to stop abruptly when they turn to look. The staff has grown so accustomed to these reports that they often shrug with a knowing smile, suggesting the building is alive with echoes of its past. Perhaps the most unsettling encounter of all is the sound of laughter, specifically the laughter of a woman. Guests recount hearing it in the dining room, in the stairwell, and even outside in the mountain air when no one else was around. It is not cruel or mocking, but rather light and playful, as if a woman from long ago is still enjoying herself within the inn's walls. Some have speculated that the spirit might belong to a woman who once worked or lived in the inn, perhaps during its early years as a boarding house. Others believe it could be a remnant of the miners' wives who settled in Gold Hill, whose lives were marked by both joy and hardship. A few visitors have even described the fleeting vision of a woman in period clothing, seen only for a moment before vanishing into thin air. The inn's location also contributes to its otherworldly atmosphere. Surrounded by dense forest and perched high in the mountains, Gold Hill is a place where fog rolls in quickly, where the wind carries strange whispers, and where the nights are utterly still, save for the occasional cry of wildlife. Those who stay at the inn often speak of the feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes are always just beyond the edges of perception. This sense of presence lingers even in the daylight, giving the inn an aura that is both enchanting and unnerving. Local folklore adds to the mystique. Old-timers in the area recall stories of miners who perished in accidents, their spirits said to linger near the town. Others speak of travelers who sought shelter at the inn during harsh winters, never to emerge again. Whether these tales are rooted in fact or embellished over time, they provide fertile ground for the belief that the Gold Hill Inn is a place where the past refuses to let go. Despite, or perhaps because of its haunted reputation, the inn remains a beloved destination. Many guests find the paranormal experiences thrilling, adding to the charm of their visit. Some come specifically hoping for an encounter, eager to hear the phantom music or catch a glimpse of the ghostly woman. For others, the inn is simply a reminder that history is never truly silent, and that the lives of those who came before us continue to ripple through the present. The Gold Hill Inn stands as a bridge between eras, a place where fine dining and rustic hospitality meet the echoes of a mining town long gone. Its walls hold stories of laughter, music, and footsteps that refuse to fade. Whether the spirits are memories imprinted on the old wood, or genuine souls unwilling to leave, the result is the same: the inn is alive in ways few places are. Those who visit leave not only with a full stomach and the memory of a mountain evening, but with a lingering sense that they have brushed shoulders with history, and perhaps with something beyond it. And so, our journey through Colorado's most haunted places comes to an end. From abandoned mines to luxurious hotels, from lonely cemeteries to echoing theaters, the shadows of Colorado are alive with whispers of the past. These stories remind us that the land itself remembers, that history leaves scars not only on the earth, but on the spirit. If you ever find yourself wandering through the Rockies, ask yourself, is that just the wind through the pines? Or is something following you? Thank you for joining me on this haunted journey. Until next time, keep your lights low, your doors locked, and your imagination open. Because sometimes, the scariest stories are the ones that are true.